Greetings, this is yours truly, Lord Karo, welcome to my domain. Fox Sin Part 3 Chapter 23, No Sacrifice, No Victory. Review replies Super Shadik 2002. I don't know why, all that I could think of when Izuku first stepped into the fight with Muscular was, you better scramble like an egg before you get folded like an omelet. Thermal Sniper N7. Yeah, that sounds about right. Dragon Emperor 0. I'll write that down for later, Harleking 31. Damn, Purgatory training arc already. How the hell is anybody going to be kidnapped if there are two hell-trained characters on the table? Dragon Emperor 0. 2 words. Mr. Compress. Seriously, his quirk is op. Thermal Sniper N7. Yeah, but let's not forget about Snatch. That's a factor, too. I'm sorry but the Angst doesn't seem realistic. If they were good friends, Uraraka would have gotten in touch with him. Or at least her parents will. Thermal Sniper N7. You gotta understand, there are a few factors to consider. Dragon Emperor 0. Said factors will be revealed later on, but point still taken. Ninja Fang 1331. Excellent job, thank you, and Izuku is now stronger than All Might now, I guess. Thermal Sniper N7. Purgatory will do that to a person. Dragon Emperor 0. And to be clear, I kinda low-balled how strong Purgatory made Izuku last chapter. Since I was having a little bit of trouble precisely mapping out the incremental increases. Ryujin 96. Great work on this chapter. And I hope Izuku can pull Ochako out of her eventual depression once she learns she unintentionally helped the villains find their training camp. He could tell her that it was shared blame, since Izuku and those who knew, should have at least brought up the potential that Ochako could be used as an unwilling mold to get information to the villains about the training camp's location. Regardless of if their concerns were shot down or not. And that depends on if the UA teachers weren't informed about Ochako's situation as being an unwilling spy. Because if Eraserhead and Vald King did know, and did nothing with the information, then it's their fault for the villain attack on the training camp. As for what I liked about this chapter, I liked Izuku and Katsuki's training in Purgatory. And I liked Izuku and Ochako's interactions in the flashbacks, especially the one where Izuku told her he'd give up his immortality to revive her. I look forward to reading chapter 31. Thermal Sniper N7. He will help her out of her depression, that's kinda his job as her boyfriend. Also, wait, did we clarify if the UA teachers knew about Ochako's unwilling bond to Uraili? I don't recall. Dragon Emperor 0. Izuku said it was a possibility, but wasn't 100% certain. For all he knew that could have been a non-effective hypothesis. Thermal Sniper N7. Oh. Okay, Person Unknown 26. This is a very interesting and new concept that started off really good but then started to make less and less sense. You described Izuku as being fit and all that. And with his quirk Bakugo shouldn't stand a chance. In any way, but not only is he like equal with Deku. He was able to give him a permanent scar which makes no sense. Then Izuku got 4 with 100 something points. And 3 people were still ahead of him. Okay, I guess Uraraka has been alive for a while it seems but never made an effort to go check in on Izuku to try to reconnect or anything. Deku proves his healing factor is so good his spine can break and he's fine, but if he uses 100% to throw a ball it would be bad, so he still does the finger thing. Why waste energy breaking your spine then? Oh, and on the way home to show he's not too broken he's tired from overusing his quirk. This could have been great but it's not. You wrote good but I'm just not interested enough to get around these things. Thermal Sniper N7. I understand how you feel. I've seen stories that I just couldn't keep up with. As for Izuku's scar, there are substances out in the world that can bypass healing factors. Wolfsbane is one such substance. Dragon Emperor 0. Or in this case, Katsuki's Nitro Sweat. Demistrathe. Honestly, My Immortal Academia is a better name for the FIC. Thermal Sniper N7. While that is true, the story got its name because it's meant to be the first of 7 stories with Izuku and his genderbends having SDS themes. Dragon Emperor 0. The second is Serpent Sin. It's a pretty good story too. You should check it out. Training Camp. Koda cried as he jumped into Izuku's arms, the taller boy's arms wrapping around the smaller one's tiny body. Easy Koda, I got you. The sin of greed told him as he stood up, looking back at Muscular and the wrecked mountaintop. Damn, did I really do all that? He asked himself before shaking his head. Come on, we gotta get you to Mandalay. He added as he charged up and sprinted down the cliff. Koda on his back. Hey, are you sure you can keep going after what you just did? The little boy asked in concern. Trust me, Koda. I'm perfectly fine. Izuku nodded before he channeled one for all into his legs and started leaping through the trees and running along the ground. As they ran through the woods, Koda kept looking at Izuku who didn't let go of him the entire time. Mr. Midoriya, he started to say before Izuku interrupted him. You don't have to say anything, Koda. The immortal told him. I know. He added before skidding to a halt when he was about to collide with Izuocha. Whoa, sorry, sensei, but it's good I found you, he sighed. So I see. The man nodded as he glanced at the mountain Izuku and Koda had left. I heard that deafening boom. You went overboard again, didn't you? Have you learned nothing from Hosu? He scolded, but Izuku wouldn't hear a word of it. Don't you dare start, Izuocha. The villain that attacked me, and Koda admitted that Kachan is the target of the villains attacking, and I'm also on their kill list. He explained, causing the Erasure hero to take a small step back. Bakugo is their target? And they put you on a kill list? He questioned, though he sounded confused about that second one. Despite the situation, he couldn't help but note how irrational that sounded. Their retardation knows no limits, I assure you, Izuku stated before he took Koda off his back and handed him to his teacher. Mr. Izawa's gonna get you to safety. So just keep your head down and stay safe, okay Koda? He said, rubbing the boy on the head. Oh okay. Koda nodded with a stutter as he went to the underground hero. I'm gonna head to Mandalay. Is there anything you need me to relay to her? Izuku asked as he looked at his teacher. Yes. Tell her to warn Bakugo and to tell the students to use their quirks to fight these villains. Do not hold back. The Erasure hero told him. Understood. The immortal nodded before he took off in Mandalay's direction. Meanwhile, in the clearing where the others were, Pixie Bob, Mandalay and Tiger were still trying to take down Spinner and Magna, while Cheshire was trying to find stranded students using his quirk. You are not a real hero, Spinner yelled as he swung his sword around wildly, trying to hit the woman. You brought this on yourself, you whore, he yelled before Izuku came flying out of nowhere and destroyed his sword with a devastating kick. Take that, Yastain wannabe, he yelled as he landed before looking at Mandalay. Mandalay, use your telepathy. Tell everyone that the villains are after Katsuki Bakugo and that Eraserhead has given them permission to use their quirks to fight back. No hesitation. He told her, making sure to avoid using his nickname for his rival. He needed the message to be clear. Right, Mandalay nodded as she quickly relayed the message with her quirk. Good. Now keep these assholes busy. The Fox Sin said as he backhanded a Nomu out of the way. I have a snake to kill. He growled as he started running into the woods. Wait a minute. He found out our target? He must have fought one of us and they blabbed. Magna thought. It must have been muscular. This kid must have beaten him, and judging by the destroyed mountain top, he's stronger than him. They thought before disengaging from Tiger and going after the immortal. I better take him out, and fast. It sounds like he's going after Uriah, they thought, only for an unexpected knife from Spinner to stop them. Don't big sis Mag, Spinner yelled. What the hell, Spinner? That kid was on our priority kill list, and I'm pretty sure he's gonna kill Uriah, the magnet user yelled. Stain saw it fit to save him, and I won't spare a second thought for some wench that dares to disturb the rest of the dead, the lizard-like man declared. Also, even you have to admit that putting an immortal on a priority kill list is just idiotic, he added flatly. Okay, that last part is a good point. Magna conceded. Even the heroes they were fighting silently agreed that the concept was dumb and just plain stupid. Elsewhere, back with Izuku, he was still searching for anyone familiar, but wasn't having much luck. No sign of the others anywhere. Damn it. Where are they? And where the fuck is that bitch Uriah? The boy snarled as he kept running. Then, from the darkness, a familiar claw tried to grab the immortal before someone got him out of the way. Be more careful, Midoriya, Shoji told him, getting the Fox Sin's attention. Shoji? He asked before noticing one of his tentacles was currently bleeding. What happened? He demanded. It's Tokiyami. He's lost control of Dark Shadow, the masked student told him. How? The Sin of Greed questioned as they hid in the bushes. A villain attacked us and cut off one of my dupli arms. This caused Tokiyami to lose control and for Dark Shadow to go wild, the masked boy whispered. Cursing under his breath, Izuku watched as a monstrous behemoth of dark energy rampaged through the forest, with Tokiyami at the center, before he noticed a heaven-piercing ice wall in the distance. Shoji, I think I have an idea for how we can save Tokiyami and get to Kachan before the villains can, he said, getting his friend's attention. What's your plan? He asked before both of them had to avoid a strike from the living quirk. We lure him toward Kachan and Todoroki. Dark shadows lashing out at any sound, so you can use your dupli arms to draw his attention without him directly attacking us, Izuku explained. It's high risk, but we have no choice. Let's do it, Shoji nodded. Let's go get these sons o' bitches, Izuku grinned as he got up. Meanwhile, Katsuki and Shoto were currently on the defensive against a death row convict named Moonfish, a cannibalistic villain with a tooth blade quirk. Damn it. This guy's getting on my nerves, the blonde growled. AP shot. Auto cannon, he yelled as he fired a volley of compressed explosions. Moonfish used his teeth to dodge the explosions, but he was thrown off when they destroyed his teeth. He quickly sent out more of them, wanting to feast on his flesh. Flesh, little slices, must feast, he rasped as he pressed his attack. Right as it was about to hit Katsuki. Full counter. The boy yelled as he sent Moonfish's teeth right back at him, causing him to scream in pain as his own teeth impaled him. When did you learn that? Shoto exclaimed as he and the blonde jumped back. I learned it in Purgatory. That place is one hell of a training dimension. Katsuki replied with a grin as the death row convict tried to remove his own teeth. And right as he was about to attack again, Dark Shadow came into view as it rampaged towards the area in a blind fury, decimating entire tree lines that lay in its path like they were, and Izuku were right in front of him as well. What's up, guys? The immortal grinned. Moonfish turned his attention to the living quirk after he removed the last of his teeth. Pieces of flesh must eat, won't let you steal from me, he exclaimed as he tried to attack the rampaging quirk, only for his attacks to make it more angry than it already was before it folded the cannibal like an omelet. You don't matter, insignificant bug, Dark Shadow and Tokiyami roared as they grabbed Moonfish and swung him around like a rag doll. We struggled against him, and Dark Shadow makes it look like child's play, Shoto muttered with slightly wide eyes as he watched the beatdown. Now that's what I'm talking about. Katsuki grinned as Moonfish was thrown into a tree in a heap, completely out cold. That's when the bomber and Dragon Sin turned serious. Icy hot, now, he then exclaimed. Right. The two-toned boy nodded as they generated enough light to finally calm the avian boy and his familiar down enough so they wouldn't get hurt. Phew. That was close. Izuku sighed. You alright, Tokiyami, Kachan, Todoroki? He asked, addressing his friends. We're good now. Shoto nodded. I'm so sorry I caused so much trouble, the bird-headed teen lamented, his head hanging. Don't worry about it, Izuku told him, causing him to look up at the immortal. You got nothing to be worried about. Any injuries you caused are small at best for us, he added. At any rate, we should probably get back to camp, before any more villains find us, Shoji noted as he got up. Especially since Bakugo is their target, Tokiyami nodded. How did they even find us, anyway? Shoto questioned, causing Izuku to scowl and his features to become dark. I think I know exactly how. He growled, getting the attention of the others. Urieli's quirk, it allows her to create a bond with a person's soul after she reanimates their body, and turn them into an unwilling proxy she can see through the eyes and hear the thoughts of. Ochako is, unfortunately, one such proxy. He explained, getting shocked looks from the others. Is there a way to sever it? Shoji questioned. To my knowledge, best way to do it is to kill her. The immortal explained. But doing so has a major drawback, he added. That being, Shoto asked warily. Whoever she's linked to can only muster enough life force to live for a few hours at least or weeks at most. Then they die, permanently. Katsuki stated, squishing an acorn under his shoe to prove a point. Midoriya, please tell me you don't. Shoji trailed off, hoping the green-haired teen wasn't planning to commit to killing someone. Oh, I am. I refuse to let my girlfriend be a slave to some slimy bitch, Izuku snarled. But, if you do that, Uraraka will die again, Tokiyami pointed out as they started heading towards the camp. Oh, don't worry. I've got a solution for that, the fox-sin smirked. Elsewhere, meanwhile, in another part of the woods, Ochako and Sue were currently trying to back away from a villain that just attacked them. Said villain was Himiko Toga, and she'd just made the mistake of slashing Ochako with her knife, before she could continue. Bam! Nobody fucking hurts my girlfriend, Izuku thundered as he delivered a sucker punch to the teenage villain's face, sending her skidding across the ground. Rubbing her cheek, Toga looked up and glared at Izuku, before realizing that Ochako smelled like her because she was in love with the person in front of her. This little nugget of information caused the blonde to grin maniacally as she gripped her knife. You look cute, I think I'll cut you, she giggled. Fuck off, ya crazy bat. I don't bleed for the sake of bleeding, the immortal snapped. I usually enjoy other stuff that can hurt me, he added mentally. No way he was saying that out loud. Yeah, keep telling yourself that, ya masochist. Katsuki barked as the other boys started to circle the blonde. Seeing that she was literally in a no-win situation, Himiko quickly stored the blood she got from Ochako and booked it. Izuku moved to give chase, but his girlfriend stopped him. Wait, don't. We have bigger problems right now, she told him, causing him to sigh, but nod. Right. He nodded. Sorry to ask girls, but we could really use your help getting Kachan back to camp, he stated, jabbing a thumb back at the group. Where is he? Sue asked, causing Izuku to turn around and see that, to his shock, his rival and Tokiyami were gone. The hell? Kachan and Tokiyami were right behind us a moment ago, he exclaimed in shock. That would be my doing. A new voice spoke up, prompting the group to look up in the trees and spot a man in a magician getup complete with a yellow ku, a tuxedo and a top hat. He also wore a ski mask and an actual mask to hide his face. He even had a cane. Izuku growled as he clenched his fists. And just who the hell are you? The boy growled as he flexed his hand, ready to use snatch and rip the man's heart out. Oh, I'm but a humble magician. My name is Mr. Compress. The man said with a bow before he held up 2 blue marbles. And your friends here are coming with me. He added, right before the marbles vanished from his hand. He hummed before he spotted Izuku holding said marbles with a smirk. Showing off how you capture your targets in front of me, of all people, idiot. The immortal chuckled, amused by the rookie mistake this man just made. Ah yes, the immortal bandit, Izuku Midoriya, correct? Compress questioned. The sin of greed, such an unsavory moniker. Does make me wonder how you got into UA in the first place, he mused before he snapped his fingers, causing the marbles to open and reveal that they had nomus in them. Boy. The immortal deadpanned before he dispatched the 2 nomu the same way he had done so earlier, leaving the 2 quirk golems unmoving on the ground. However, this seemed to give the magician the opening he needed to disappear and make his escape. Oh that's it. The sin of greed growled. Ochako, float me, Shoji and Todoroki. I'm about to break that magician's spine, he growled. Way ahead of ya, babe. The gravity gal nodded as she used her quirk on all 3 of the boys. No words needed to be said. The group knew their roles. Ochako would float them, Sue would throw them with her tongue. Shoji would correct their trajectory by using his dupli arms as wings and Ochako would release them at the right moment. Izuku and Shoto would help clobber the magician-themed villain. Now, Izuku yelled as the slingshot sent them flying towards Compress. And for some added power, he then held out his hand and pulled back. Universal pull, he yelled as his quirk pulled them towards Compress at blinding speeds, until they collided with the man in midair. Meanwhile, with the villain squad, or what's left of it, rather, they had just reached the rally point to await extraction. The ones that did were Toga, Dabi, aka Emo Raisin, twice. And the woman that Izuku had been pursuing since the USJ attack, Uriali. Since then, All for One had given her at least 4 more quirks in hopes of helping her end Izuku, and one for all by proxy. The first was an emitter-type quirk called Dark, which gave her darkness powers. A mutant-type quirk that gave her 5 hearts. An emitter type that gave her the ability to call out and eat souls, and finally a mutant quirk that gave her snake attributes. All these quirks were given to her to give her a fighting chance. Oh how wrong All for One was about that. Are we really all that's left? Himiko whined. Oh come now, Toga. We'll be out of here soon. Uriali told her. I just hope we don't run into those kids. If what Magnus said was true then one of them is out to kill me. She mused, refusing to use Izuku's name. If he does kill Ya, then he's liable to put his future at risk, and I doubt he'd do that. Dabi commented, only for the soul-eating woman to shake her head. You don't know that boy at all if you're saying that, she told him, before Twice could say anything. Crash. Mr. Compress crashed into the ground, Izuku, Shoji and Shoto slamming him there. The rest of the squad jumped in surprise at the sudden impact. Hey I know these kids, the Deadpool reference exclaimed. Who are they? He added, contradicting himself. Izuku then scanned the battlefield to see who was there, and when he saw Uriali. There you are, he thought angrily as he stomped on the man under him, causing 2 marbles rolled out from under Compress's mask, turning into Katsuki and Tokiyami. Uriali grinned as the boys lay unconscious, and started trying to rip out their souls. This would be her last mistake, however, when Izuku stole the perception of the villains and walked up behind her. Zero sign. He intoned as he moved quickly. When their perceptions returned, Dabi spotted Izuku behind her. Look oh, he tried to warn before the immortal grabbed her head and snapped her neck, forcefully stopping her from eating Katsuki and Tokiyami's souls. He didn't stop there, though, as he used Snatch to rip her hearts out all 5 of them and then he proceeded to stop on all 5 of them. Sayonara, you fucking bitch, he snarled. Dabi and Twice took 2 steps back in shock while Toga looked incredibly aroused at the blood-splattered look on Izuku's face but that soon changed to horror when she saw Uriali's mangled corpse. Uriali, no, she cried as the sin of greed stood on the woman's head. Alright, who's next? He growled. It was at this moment that Kurogiri appeared. I do believe, he started to say before spotting Uriali's corpse, causing his eyes to widen in shock. Oh my. I didn't expect that. He uttered, not expecting a hero in training to actually commit to taking someone else's life. Take your damned posse. Izuku snapped at the warp villain. But you're taking no one else, or they'll join this bitch at my feet, he added with a snarl. That's assuming you can touch us. Dabi deadpanned as he started blasting the others with blue fire, causing Izuku's eyes to widen as he quickly rushed to rescue them. Now, compress, he yelled. The magician groaned as he got up, putting Katsuki and Tokiyami into marbles again before he made his way to the portal. But before he could make it, a laser shot his hand, causing him to drop the marbles as Izuku got the others out of the way and used Snatch to try and grab both but was only able to get Tokiyami. Shoto was next to try and get Katsuki, but he wasn't so lucky, either. Right as he was about to grab it, Dabi quickly snatched it and made the two-toned boy miss his mark and stumble to the ground. Poor little Shoto Todoroki. The cremation villain sighed in mock disappointment. See ya. He added as the group slowly disappeared into the portal, Katsuki being released at the same time. Damn it, Kachan, no, Izuku yelled as he started running towards the portal, his hand outstretched to try and grab him. I'll be fine, Deku. Stay back. The Dragon Sin yelled as the portal closed just before Izuku could reach it. This made the sin of greed end up going through the space where it was before he stopped. He didn't utter a single word as he processed that villains had kidnapped his best friend and rival. His shoulders started to shake uncontrollably before. He roared in absolute fury and anguish, the noise sounding like his purgatory demon form. The noise tore through the night. Elsewhere, just before this happened, specifically right after Izuku killed Uraili, Sue was trying to get back to camp with Ochako when the gravity girl suddenly felt faint. What's going? She tried to say before she collapsed, much to Sue's worry. Ochako, are you okay? She asked quickly, rushing to her side. Ochako didn't respond, her body just went limp in her friend's arms, right as Wandel flew from the direction of the camp. I found some kids over here guys, but I don't see any sign of the villains, or Ragdoll, the bird said as he flapped above the two girls. Copy that. I'll send Eraserhead your way. Thanks, Wandel. Vlad King replied, seconds later though. An echo was heard. Okay, who pissed off Midoriya? Aizawa deadpanned. I think the villains may have made off with someone. The toucan said as he made a head count. Besides Ragdoll, we're short one student. He added grimly. He circled back around. Time skip. Izuku sat in a hospital room after the camp was evacuated as he was looked over by the doctors, to make sure he was still okay after the ordeal. But after that was done, he made his way to the room where Ochako was being kept. A cold room so her body wouldn't decay if it remained unresponsive. A nurse tried to keep him from entering as Tato was already in there, but the boy grimaced and forced her aside, walking into the room. When the fairy boy heard the door open and prompted him to glance back at it, he wasn't surprised to see Izuku entering. Hey, Izuku. He greeted his friend, his tone conveying how downcast he was about what had happened. I didn't want it to come to this. I had no choice, Izuku said, his tone subdued from recent events. I know. Tato nodded as the two stood side by side in silence for a time. Izuku then knelt down next to Ochako and took her into his arms. That being said, I'd say this is far from over, he stated. No, this isn't over, not by a long shot. He added resolutely as a few security guards and the rest of Class 1A entered the room. Midoriya, what are you? Iida questioned before Izuku held his hand to Ochako's chest. Gift. The sin of greed intoned. A bright white light illuminated the room, forcing everyone else to cover their eyes. Izuku felt that he was becoming mortal once again as his immortality left him. Is that? Mina gasped as she saw the energy going into Ochako. Midoriya's overwhelming life force, it's going into Uraraka, Shoji added. He's giving up his immortality, Iida let out. A moment later the light faded, and Ochako's eyes snapped open as she gasped for breath. Izuku, she said as she looked at him. But why? She questioned, realizing that he was no longer immortal if she was alive again. Because immortality is a curse if I have to spend eternity alone, he told her, and I refuse to suffer alone. He added firmly as he kissed her, causing everyone to gasp. I'm keeping my promise, Ochako. He told her as he pulled away. From this day on, you're mine. Forever, he added. And I'm not leaving you. The brunette smiled as she snuggled into him. The rest of the class and the security guards couldn't help but smile at the display of love and conviction the two had to remain together. Izuku then got up and placed her on the bed. Now, guys. the immortal said as the guards let them be. I assume you're here to do more than just watch me keep a promise. He added as he turned Serio chapter 24. One for all and all for none. Review replies Ninja Fang 1331. Izuku finally saved the love of his life and got revenge as well, but I am guessing there is going to be punishment for him after killing a villain. Thermal Sniper N7. More like Izuku getting a mental evaluation. If the bigwigs can be assured it was a one-off, they'll let Izuku go. Plus, I have a feeling certain people would be frightened by the idea of a villainess that can eat people's souls. Dragon Emperor0. Plus resurrection and soul control, lest we forget. Izuku didn't have much of a choice here. Also, the HPSC has villains killed all the time. So I really can't see a problem here. Harlequin 31. And used Snatch to try and grab both but only managed to get Tokiyami. Bruh. Like, I get it, Compress is op, always has been. But I thought Izuku wouldn't be able to avoid the kidnappings because he got put in a marble instead of Tokiyami. What's kinda BS is that he tried to grab 2 marbles with Snatch but failed, when in this very chapter he did the exact same thing from a greater distance, when he grabs the decoy marbles with the Nomus. I do not believe even for a second that pushing 3 people out of the way of fire took him longer than for Compress to marble 2 people and get to the portal. Especially if he got time to snatch one of the marbles. It'd have been a great twist if Shoto had been the one to be kidnapped for getting into Dabi's range after Izuku had already snatched the marbles away, but that's besides the point. And like, I don't want to be a nitpicker, but Bakugo and Tokiyami getting recaptured is absolute plot-induced stupidity, especially for Bakugo. I personally don't like him. I crab raved 3 manga chapters ago, but there's no way he'd let himself be caught twice. He'd probably keep a close eye on Compress so it doesn't happen again. At the shout of, now Compress, he'd already be blasting his ass in the air so he can then blast Compress ass off. Like, the guy managed himself for a few seconds against the entire league on his own, after spending days tied up to a chair. Which included Compress. He can absolutely outmaneuver him if he's alone. And this is all without taking into consideration the massive stat buff that Izuku should have received in his Hell training arc, which should have allowed him to absolutely speed bitch Compress and Dabi's fire. But that one I can accept if I assume you didn't want to make Izuku that much op the rest though. The rest is just PIS or plot-induced stupidity. Thermal Sniper N7. Honestly, I didn't want Katsuki getting taken. But, since we have no other means of getting all for one to show his ancient infected scrotum of a face later on, we didn't have a choice. Dragon Emperor0. Yeah. Plus, I should point out that Izuku couldn't stop Compress because he was too busy shielding Shoji and the others from Dabi. He can't do 2 things at once. Marcel Jordan. Ah yes, a good trade-off. Ochako Uraraka is now immortal and Midoriya isn't, but Bakugo is still captured in the long running. I can see that happening. Great job with stories, man. Dragon Emperor0. Okay, clarification time. Ochako is not, I repeat, not immortal. She's just brought back to life. While Izuku is no longer immortal. That's all. No one is immortal here. Thermal Sniper N7. Exactly. Joanne Francis Tiano Kahilig. That was fucking awesome, and Katsuki trained in purgatory, he'll be okay. Will he escape or plan an escape? Dragon Emperor0. Probably the former, but knowing him and how he and Izuku spent centuries doing ambush hunting, he'll probably stay put so he and the heroes can take down the villains in one go. Thermal Sniper N7. Yeah. This isn't canon, so Izuku and Katsuki should be effectively helpful when that time comes. 2 Lero 44LL. This is a pretty nice story you got here, fam. You have Izuku already stronger than All Might though. Now I'm curious on how you going to show that seeing as most villains, really just about all, couldn't match up to All Might at all, so unless you having Izuku constantly hold back all the time instead of just him one-shot everyone, it's going to be hard to make it work. But I for one love overpowered main characters, so I say let him one-shot them. Brings amusement regardless. I know you won't actually do that though, just based off of all your past fights, haha. Thermal Sniper N7. Well, you aren't wrong about us having Izuku hold back unless he's going in for the kill shot, though that doesn't mean we aren't above emergency one-shots being done. Dragon Emperor0. Trust us, this has a purpose. Don't worry. Nexus player. Excuse me, quick question. When's the first chapter of Izuku, Sin of Pride coming out? Cause I have a few ideas for my favorite sin. And I would love to talk about it. On fanfiction, such as Izuku being taken away to an island or something after his quirk developed, to symbolize Escanor's own escape from his country to train it and keep people safe from him. And so he comes back to school with Bakugo thinking he's still a weakling. And Ochako thinks that Deku's as cute as ever. And maybe Abara the plant-haired girl like him or feel safe around him since his sunshine kinda makes him like a second son. And plants like the sun. Thermal Sniper N7. Abara and Izuku together in a relationship like that, Dragon Emperor 0. Dragon Emperor 0. Clicks a pen, allow me to write that down. Hospital room. So why are you guys here? Izuku questioned as he sat on his hospital bed, his classmates standing around him. Because, Sumas are going after Bakugo. Kirishima replied. This, of course, had Iida feeling shocked and alarmed. What? The bespectacled teen snapped. We have to leave this to the professionals. It's not the right time to get involved. Idiots. He yelled. Are you crazy? Kirishima snapped back. If I stand by and do nothing, how can I call myself a man or a hero? He questioned, sounding frustrated. We're planning to track a villain by having Yaoyorozu make us another receiver. Shoto explained. Then we'll try to rescue Bakugo. Preferably before the villains even have a chance to notice. He continued. Or at the very least, King chimed in as he rubbed his sister's hand. We can cripple the love long enough for the heroes to do their jobs. Make it easier on them. He added. Do you people not hear yourselves? Iida barked. This is not the. He started to continue before Izuku cut him off. Iida, look at me. He said, and when the speedster did, he saw the look in his eyes. He could see the inner turmoil in the former immortal, the pain he carried, and so much more. For the longest time, I thought my girlfriend was truly dead. In that time, I've suffered and tried to end my life countless times. Then I saw her at Ua, and things felt right again. He continued. In purgatory, I lost myself and became a mindless demon. Now, the love has taken my friend to do who knows what. He added before a fierce look formed in his eye. Why the hell should I sit on my ass and let this world continue to torment me? He finished with a growl. There was a brief silence before Shoto continued where Izuku left off. Midoriya's right. Back at camp, the villains planned to kill some of us. But they took Bakugo alive. He began. What we don't know is how long they'll let him live. He added. Especially since Izuku killed one of their own. King interjected. They could be planning to kill him in retribution. Which means we have to act now. Kirishima nodded. Have the three of you lost your minds? Iida growled, only to be stopped by Shoji. Hey, calm down. The masked team said. They're just frustrated and worried, rightly so. He added. Yeah, but we should leave it to the heroes. Mr. Aizawa only gave us permission to use our quirks at the training camp. Aoyama gulped nervously. Aoyama is correct, though I'm part of reason why we failed, so I can't talk. Tokiyami nodded. You guys. Kirishima protested. Listen. Sue croaked. We're all shocked that Bakugo was taken. But we have to think rationally. No matter how pure your intentions, if you go out looking for the bad guys, knowing you're breaking the rules, then you're acting like villains, not heroes. A tense silence passed as these words lingered on the tongues of those present, at least until Izuku stood up, his hand popping his joints one by one. Breaking the rules. He spat as he looked down at his boots. That's what you're worried about. I can't believe this. Are you all so blind that none of you are able to see the big picture here? He snapped, clenching his fists. What are you talking about? Mina asked, not understanding what Izuku was getting at. First, I'm going to bring something to your attention, something that I now see that you've all forgotten. The former immortal growled, turning to Iida. First, 2 words, Island. He continued, causing Melissa to tense up. Are you seriously lecturing me about not getting involved when we have that kind of win under our belts? He snarled. That was. The speedster tried to say. If you say that was different, I will punch so hard you see stars. The fox sin snapped, cutting him off. Second, this was not random targeting, guys. They took Kachan for a reason to draw All Might out so the Love's leader can end him and hero society in one killing stroke. He continued. Why, you're serious? Zero gasped, taking a step back along with almost everyone else. The guy's been around for a few centuries, so I'm not surprised. The fox sin nodded. How do you know this? Iida questioned. Melissa and Kachan already know, so I'll tell you. Izuku said. There are rumors that All Might is getting weaker. Well, those are true. He explained. 5 years ago he got injured during a fight with his nemesis All for One, a villain who can match him in power by using his power to steal and give quirks. He continued. The fight left both at the edge of death, and All Might was injured to the point where he can only use his power for a certain amount of time. He added. Wait, if that's all true, and All Might takes the bait. Kaminari gasped. He won't be able to fight at full power because of Bakugo being there to avoid hurting him. Tokiyami surmised. And that'll leave him wide open to attack long enough for his time to expire, Ojiro added with wide eyes. Meaning, Aoyama gasped. If we don't do something now, then we're completely and utterly screwed. Izuku intoned darkly. We'll be in a jam, lost in the grass, up a tree, up Schitt's Creek, and I'm not sure if we'd be able to find or fashion a paddle. In other words, we'd be absolutely fucked. He added. Quote dot dot dot. Damn it. Iida hissed in defeat and frustration. At first, he was thinking about the here and now, but Izuku had shown him something that was genuinely worse than he thought. The fox sin was right, something had to be done or All Might would die. It was then that a doctor came into the room after it had fallen into silence. Sorry to disturb you all, but I need to do a mental evaluation on Midoriya. He said. Oh, alright. King nodded as he and the others left, though Kirishima stayed behind a moment. We'll head out after dark, and meet in front of the hospital. He whispered to Izuku, who nodded silently in reply. As the class left, it left Izuku alone with the doctor, who had a clipboard with a list of questions on it. I've had a few talks with Eraserhead, All Might and Recovery Girl. Their assessment of you says that you have masochistic tendencies, a greedy nature and a very idealistic and pragmatic mindset. He began, looking over his notes. Would you say this is correct? He asked. Yeah, if I want to keep something to myself, I'll fight for it. Izuku nodded. And I'm not afraid of highlighting the bigger picture if I have to. He added. That also means that you tend to want to take on burdens to spare your loved one's pain, am I right? The doctor asked. If I have to, I will. The former immortal nodded. And if you're presented with a trolley problem where killing a villain would save the most lives in a given situation and future situations, would you take that option? He asked. If it's the only viable option. Yeah. Izuku nodded firmly. So when you killed Uraili during the attack on the camp, it was perceived as the only option. The doctor questioned. She was about to take the souls of two of my friends. And if I spared her, she'd still be able to spill info to the League by using her link to Ochako. Izuku replied resolutely. Her existence was a serious problem. I refused to allow that to happen again. He added. That brings up another question. Was giving up your immortality to bring Ochako Uraraka back worth it? The man asked. Have you ever been in love before, Doc? Izuku asked in return. It's pretty good. He added with a sigh. I'll take that as a yes. The doctor nodded as he wrote the answer he got down. Well, you certainly don't seem to be unstable, mentally speaking. Just very convicted. He added. I'll take that as a compliment. The sin of greed shrugged nonchalantly. Well, regardless of what I think, or how things went that day, you should be proud of yourself. The man told him, handing him a note. Remember, you saved people. He added. Later. At the entrance to the hospital after night fell, Kirishima and Shoto stood and waited for Momo and Izuku to exit the building. Think she'll come around? The redhead asked. We may want to go after him, but it's her choice. The dual element user replied. As the two said this, both Izuku and Momo came walking out of the hospital, the former having a conflicted look on his face, in stark contrast to how he was before. Flashback. Dear Mr. Midoriya. Sorry I punched you in the balls. And, thanks for saving me, even though you didn't know me. The letter from Kota began as Izuku read it. Just make sure you get better, okay? As the ex-immortal looked over the letter, he let out a sigh as he looked up at the sky. Shit, he whispered to himself. Hey, ya know, it really does feel good to be someone's hero. He mused before answering his phone as it rang. Hey mom. Sorry for not calling well, I've been busy. He apologized, knowing who was on the other line. I understand, sweetie. Inko replied. But, do you really have to go back to UA? Especially after what's happened? She asked, feeling a pang of doubt. Mom, if I ran away now, what kind of hero could I ever strive to be? Izuku told her. Listen, I know you're scared. But don't be. I can handle myself. He added. I know, but, I'd be a bad mother if I didn't show some concern for what's happening in your life. The woman sighed. I know mom, I know. Her son sighed knowingly. Flashback end. Sorry about the wait, guys. Izuku told the three. No worries, bro. Kirishima nodded in reply before turning to Momo. So, have you decided? He questioned. Yes, but, I still don't condone what you're doing. It's unrealistic. She told them, handing him a receiver. Unrealistic or not, something has to be done. Izuku told her. I know. Kirishima filled me in on what you said. The rich girl nodded, recalling what the redhead had heard from Izuku. Then let's go. We don't have much time. Shoto told the others, but as they turned, someone stopped them. It was Iida. Of all the people it had to be, it was you two. He growled in frustration. The ones who helped me when I made a stupid mistake. Who received amnesty with me during Hosu, have you all lost it? Can you not see where I'm coming from? The bespectacled teen snapped angrily. What are you talking about, Iida? Kirishima questioned, King sharing his confusion, but were kept from asking further as Shoto blocked them. When you brought Uraraka out of the woods, dead in your arms, all I could think about was my brother. What if your bodies become irreparable like his, because I didn't stop you? Can't you understand? The speedster yelled. Izuku's face hardened as he started walking up to his friend. Did you forget what I said earlier? He asked. We understand where you're coming from, but, he started to add, but was cut off by Iida punching him in the face, shocking the others. Izuku, however, was unfazed. Of course I remember. I'm frustrated too. I'm worried about everyone, all my classmates, all my colleagues. I'm the class rep, damn it. The boy yelled. But, I can't stand by while you put your lives in danger, for something that we're not even sure will work, he continued as he began to tear up, gripping Izuku's shoulders. Or, are you saying, that you don't care how I feel? He questioned. Have you lost your mind? The Fox Sin questioned. Of course we care. But the way I see it, rules aren't going to matter if the love gets their way. He added. If they win, rules will lose their meaning. I know it. You know it. He continued. Iida was silent as he took this in, hissing a bit. Quote. Damn it. You're right. He sighed. Fine, but I'm coming with you. He told the group. This made the others look rather surprised by his words, but after a moment, they all nodded in agreement. Later, the group of 6 all started to walk towards the train station when Iida started to speak up. Midoriya, I shouldn't have punched you back there, I'm sorry. He told the former immortal. Don't worry about it. I'm made of tougher stuff, especially after my millennia in purgatory. Izuku shrugged, waving it off. Still can't wrap my head around that, King muttered. But I have some concerns. Momo said. What's your reasons for joining us? She questioned. To be clear, despite the desperation of the current situation, I still don't condone your behavior. Iida explained, adjusting his glasses as they kept walking. If I see any signs that physical combat may break out, I won't hesitate to drag you all off and call the police. He continued. In other words, I'm your watchman. He added, jabbing a finger at Izuku's chest. Fair enough. The ex-immortal shrugged. But I gotta ask, are the others aware of this? He asked, looking at Shoto as they got on the train to Kamino Ward. Yes, like before, they tried to dissuade us. The two-toned boy nodded. Despite your previous warnings. He added. Yeah, even your girlfriend was against it. Kirishima added, recalling what Ochako had said when they shared their plan. I just don't know, you guys, think about what Bakugo would want. We'd just be making things worse, I'm afraid. The two recalled. King couldn't help but turn a concerned look at Izuku, who looked down at his hands, feeling betrayed by the fact that even his lover was against him. Shit, he breathed, looking out the window as the bullet train sped along the rails. A part of him couldn't blame her since she had died for the second time in her life recently, so it made sense she wouldn't want to charge into battle again so soon. Though just to be clear, we're basically going against everyone's wishes and being completely selfish by doing this. King stated. If any of us wants to turn back. Does it look like I want to turn back? Kirishima questioned. Midoriya. Shoto asked as the Viridian-haired teen stared out the window intently. Quote. Meddling where you're not supposed to, is the essence of being a hero. The Sin of Greed said idly, causing everyone to look at him. All Might said that to me after our fight at the sports festival. He added. Quote. And you think we're being heroes by doing this? Iida asked. In my experience, yeah. Every time that I meddled in the affairs of people who didn't want me to meddle, I ended up saving them and never once regretted it. He nodded, turning to the ground. First with King. He then turned to Shoto. Then with you, Todoroki. He continued, turning to Iida. And then with you, Iida. He added. That is a recurring theme with you. King admitted, folding his arms. It really is. Shoto nodded in agreement. Iida just looked at his friend as his words sunk in. Not expecting this from the usually aloof and nonchalant Fox Sin. Though, I should tell you guys. The boy stated as he turned even more serious. If this causes trouble with Mr. Aizawa, I want you all to put the blame on me. Understand? He told them. What? Momo gasped. Why? She questioned in disbelief. Because I refuse to let you suffer for something I want to do if I can help it. Izuku told her. Come on, Midoriya, we all want this, don't be an idiot. Kirishima argued. I've made up my mind, Kirishima. The Fox Sin stated firmly. Do you promise to do as I say? He asked. Quote. I don't like it, but okay. Shoto conceded after a moment. Good. The boy nodded as the train sped along. Later. Now that we're here, what should we do now? King asked. I may have an idea, but it's a bit old school. Momo told them, her face blushed as she pointed at a store. Quote. You just want to go shopping, don't you? The two-toned boy deadpanned, causing the rich girl's blush to grow. Wow, Todoroki the dense over here throwing shade. Izuku chuckled. I know. King wheezed as he held his sides. Later. After picking out their disguises, the group began following the tracker's signal again, until they reached a jumbotron on the way, where the news was showing a press conference at UA. Mr. Aizawa is there. He hates being on TV. Kirishima gasped. Shit must be bad if he's on screen. Izuku said with narrowed eyes. We're here to apologize. An incident recently caused 27 students to fall injured, and we staff were ill-prepared. We apologize for our negligence, as it's our duty to train heroes, as well as protect heroes in training. The Erasure hero stated, bowing, though his tone seemed reluctant. I'll start with the first question. A reporter began. In recent days UA students have been attacked numerous times by villains, and this time some were gravely wounded. How can you assure us and their families of the steps you'll take to assure their safety in the future? It was Nezu who answered next. Yes. And we will be taking action to ensure incidents like this never occur again. The principal continued. This includes increased patrols around the school. He added. The prevailing attitude following this was people saying things that made the teachers seem like villains, which left a bad taste in the kids' mouths especially. You mentioned keeping the children safe earlier. Another reporter asked a few minutes later. But according to our sources you allowed them to fight the villains, leading to one Ochako Uraraka actually dying after another student, Izuku Midoriya, also known as the Fox Sin of Greed, killed the villain who had linked themselves to her. He continued. What were your reasons for this? He asked. Oh geez. Here we go, Izuku deadpanned mentally. I concluded that allowing the students to use their quirks would have avoided the worst possible outcome. Aizawa explained. And what outcome would that be? Do you think that 26 victims, 1 death and 1 kidnapping is a win for UA? The reporter pressed. I assure you that things could have gone much more poorly. Aizawa retorted. I had reason to believe all the students could have been killed. He continued. Additionally, as of right now, the hospital has informed us that Ochako Uraraka has been revived. Though how was not elaborated on. Vlad King interjected. Good. They're keeping that secret in the dark. Izuku nodded, glad that him being mortal again wasn't being thrown around carelessly. The love didn't need to know about that. We were fortunate that injuries were kept to a bare minimum due to it being caused by a villain with a gas quirk. If not for the quick thinking of Miss Kendo and Mr. Tetsu, things could have been far more severe. Nezu nodded. Additionally, we're offering mental health counseling to those afflicted. Though fortunately there isn't any lingering trauma. So you found a bright spot amongst this tragedy. The reporter pressed. We're fortunate that a class of burgeoning heroes still has a future. Nezu agreed. And what of the kidnapped Katsuki Bakugo and Izuku Midoriya? Both have shown unsettling behavior, and the latter in no uncertain terms remorselessly murdered the villain Uraili. The man stated. Additionally, Bakugo has shown himself to be quite violent and temperamental. What evidence can you give us that the League won't sway him to their side? Or that his comrade won't kill another villain should he get his license? Wow, these vultures are antagonistic. King whispered before glancing at Izuku, who just looked bored. It's nothing I haven't heard before. Izuku stated. Elsewhere. Meanwhile, at said press conference, Aizawa stood up, as if he was about to throw hands with the man who basically just disrespected his students on national television. But to everyone's pleasant surprise, he kept his composure, bowing respectfully before he responded to the question. You truly don't know Midoriya if you have such a question in mind. He began. Despite the way he comes off initially, that being aloof, nonchalant, lazy and rather crass, and despite his greed, he is very pragmatic and will not allow his friends to suffer if he can help it. To him, greed can be applied to anything, even things like blame, for example. He continued. If he thinks that others will get hurt, he will gladly take the blame and suffer in their place to spare them of it. And his ruthless pragmatism shows in how, if breaking the rules means that he can save everyone from danger, despite inconvenience to himself, he'll always break the rules. He added. The reporter was about to say something when Aizawa continued. As for Bakugo, his actions at the sports festival are rooted in his desire to be the best. He has no intention of joining the villains because he wants to be the best by winning against them. Joining the side of evil to him would be like spitting on everything he strives to be. The man added. If the villains think they can sway him, they are gravely mistaken. He finished firmly. Elsewhere. Go throw yourself into traffic. Katsuki yelled at Tamura as he pulled Lostbane from his belt. Meanwhile, at the hideout of the League of Villains, the blonde had been let loose as a sign of trust to win him over, only for the Pomeranian to spit at their faces when he immediately attacked them and sent Shigaraki flying into the adjacent wall with his improved firepower. The teachers really know me and Deku more than you fucks do. He grinned as he looked at the press conference broadcast. How boorish, a smart performer would have acted like we were winning him over. Now he's broken character. Compress stated. He's an idiot. Dabi scoffed. We should kill him. He's the reason Uraili's dead. Twice added. Nah, let's not. His contradictory voice added. TCH. Urieli's the one that fucked up and got herself killed. I had nothing to do with that. Katsuki scoffed as small explosions went off in his open left hand. Shigaraki groaned as he pried himself from the wall before getting in the other's way. No one touch him, he warned. This hero is still a valuable piece. He added. If I can just hold out before they can subdue me again, I should be able to get the attention of some pros. Katsuki thought, his body tense. Here we go, AP shot. He yelled as he fired a condensed blast at the villains. Elsewhere. Meanwhile, back with the other kids, they finally reached the location the tracker was at, and were peering inside. Moments later though. Holy she-wo. King and Kirishima gasped as they nearly fell over, nearly dropping a pair of night vision goggles. What? Were you spotted? Iida asked quietly. No, but we saw something worse. Kirishima replied before handing his set to Izuku. To the left of the room, the farthest corner. He told him. Izuku stood on the redhead's shoulders and looked where he was directed, and widened his eyes at what he saw. This is a Nomu production facility. He gasped when he spotted some familiar exposed brains in tanks. As the kids all started scrambling from where they were, Iida noticed something across the alley. Look, he yelled. Peering around the corner, the six saw MT. Lady picking up a truck with her foot as she raised her leg into the air, before she brought it down on the building, destroying it. It's the pros. Momo gasped in surprise and relief. They were on top of this way before we were. Kirishima grinned. Hang on. Izuku told them, the hair on his neck standing up as he got a pitting feeling in his stomach. I got a bad feeling about this, he whispered. As if his fears were broadcasted to the will of the universe, a voice suddenly spoke to the heroes as Tiger tried to get Ragdoll awake. I'm sorry, Tiger. The voice began in a respectful and even tone. But Ragdoll's quirk was so useful, I just had to take it. It was just too good of an opportunity to pass up. It continued as a man came out of the shadows, causing the sin of greed's eyes to widen in horror as he realized what was going on. Oh fuck me in the ass, up a mountain with a steel cactus. All for one is here. He cursed, causing his friends to go pale. What? The other gasped in shock as Genist attacked the man only for a massive blast to blow them away. The figure that was all for one was a tall and well-built man in a rather dapper suit, with a life support mask covering his face. Tamura is finally making decisions on his own, though I wish you hadn't gotten in his way. He lamented. Now then, shall we begin? He added. Izuku could barely hold back the urge to vomit out of sheer terror. He'd faced death multiple times in his time as an immortal, but this man, this titan, just being in his presence made him feel like he did the first time he faced death, terrified. Elsewhere. Meanwhile, back with Katsuki, before the attack happened, the teen had managed to blow a hole through the bar and seriously injure Dabi, thus causing the entire place to bathe in smoke just in time for the heroes to arrive. And now, Shigaraki was angrily gripping the blade of Lostvein as Katsuki tried to force him off, attempting to get him near Kamui Woods to capture him. What the hell? Why won't your damn knife just decay already? The decay user growled, frustrated that his quirk wasn't doing anything. Because the metals that went into this came from purgatory, so that means your quirk can only work on earth-based materials. Katsuki grinned as he pushed Shigaraki closer to Kamui Woods. As soon as the villains were bound, the blonde took a rest. The heroes started rounding everyone up, but All Might came to him. I'm sorry that this happened, young Bakugo. I can't imagine how you must feel. The man said. Just get me out, HRMPH. The Pomeranian said before a black sludge started going everywhere, causing Nomus to appear everywhere and the villains to disappear with Katsuki in tow. No. All Might yelled in dismay. There was only one explanation for what was happening. All for One was making a move. Shit just went sideways faster than a falling anvil. Chapter 25. I Will Survive. Review replies. Harlequin 31. The time to kick ass gets closer. Dragon Emperor 0. 2 will enter this fight. Only one will leave. This will be good and evil's finest hour. Prepare yourselves, dear readers. This is the end of an era. Thermal Sniper N7. Exactly. This is gonna be mental. Ninja Fang 1331. Awesome chapter, and I like how even Izuku can get scared still if All for One is around. Dragon Emperor 0. Well yeah. Back when he still had his immortality, he didn't fear anything because he never had to worry about death. Now that he isn't immortal, he has the perspective that he can die now. Of course he'd be scared. Thermal Sniper N7. Immortality has a way of shutting off self-preservation when it's present in oneself, and those same instincts return when it vanishes. Bimandi. SMA error 12 inches equals a foot, so 6 feet 0 inches is essentially 5 feet 12 inches. Dragon Emperor 0. You sure that's an actual error, mate? That kind of measurement doesn't make a lick of sense. Thermal Sniper N7. There are people who grow into the 6 feet range, like myself IRL. XX Kaneko lover XX, couldn't Izuku or King heal Ilda's brother? I mean he healed All Might's stomach and that was almost completely gone so a bone shouldn't be too much trouble if he has the right blood type. Dragon Emperor0, he did, actually. It was mentioned in a chapter after the one you read. The fruits of his labor should appear later. Thermal Sniper N7, right. Catmage 508, you know I was reading this and thinking it was a okay fanfic, but then I got to this point and your responses to some people's genuine criticism is just yikes. Dragon Emperor0, you'll have to be specific, because there's a difference between constructive criticism and people nitpicking while feigning constructive criticism. Thermal Sniper N7, exactly, and it's the nitpicking we take offense to. Camino Ward. Izuku and the rest of the makeshift rescue team were tense in pure fear. The ancient menace the ex-immortal spoke of was on the other side of the wall they were behind, and they could barely move. Damn it, this is the last thing we needed tonight. Izuku cursed internally. Then they heard the sound of clapping coming from AFO. I see why you're the number 4 hero, best genist. The man mused. That blast should have annihilated the lot of you, but you moved everyone out of the way in the nick of time. He nodded. Quick thinking, consider me impressed. He added. This guy is a monster. Best Genist thought as he forced himself upright with some fibers on the back of his jacket. But that's no excuse to just stop and do nothing. He added as he sent a wave of fibers at the ancient villain, only for a counterattack to pierce his midsection, causing him to fall unconscious from the shock. The kids all nearly fainted when this happened. Just what the hell was this guy? He took out 4 pros like it was nothing. Kirishima thought. I know I have to move, but my body, Momo muttered mentally, her heart racing. Won't let me. Izuku thought as all for one floated to the ground. I see, your quirk is powerful due to practice and experience. Not raw power. The symbol of evil mused. I don't need it. It wouldn't fit Tamura's disposition. He continued, looking at his own hand, grasping. No. There's a much better quirk out there, one I've been so very eager to encounter for myself. He added. What kind of quirk could you possibly be so interested in? Cheshire growled. Oh, I'm sure you already know. After all, the leader of the league said. You're the one who helped its user train in purgatory. He added, looking straight at him. Midoriya. The dimension-hopping hero gasped. Meanwhile, behind the wall, Izuku knew he was supposed to be scared that AFO had taken interest in him, but the fact that All for One didn't even know he gave up his immortality was just too amusing. Man, he's gonna be so disappointed. He whispered with a quiet snicker. As he said this however, the same slime portals opened again, dumping the Love and Katsuki out in front of All for One, who turned to look at them. Gah! What the hell was that? The blonde coughed. Kachan, Bakugo. The others thought in worry. My apologies, Bakugo. I admit, this particular quirk is not the finest tool in my set. The man apologized as the other villains got their bearings. Bleg. That was so gross. Toga complained as she coughed out the last of the slime. This black stuff reeks. I love it. Twice exclaimed. Master, Tamura muttered, kneeling in front of his mentor. Tamura, you failed again. The ancient villain commented in a dry tone. But I know you. You'll keep trying again and again until you get what you seek. He continued, placing a hand on his pupil's head as he caressed it. Do not be discouraged, my boy. Start over as many times as you have to. He added. Because I am here to assist you, and I always will be. He nodded with an audible smile. What the hell is this guy? Katsuki thought as he clenched his knife tightly. It was around this moment that All Might arrived. Ah, there you are. All for One said, causing the kids to tense, thinking he'd found them only for him to catch All Might flying towards him. I'll have you return my student, All for One. The pro-hero boomed, the power of OFA ripping around all over the place. Have you come to kill me a second time, All Might? The symbol of evil retorted as he held his ground. It took you longer than expected to get here. He continued as the two skid back, shaking his cramping hand. It's only 5 kilometers from the bar to here, yet it took you at least 30 seconds to get here after I sent the Nomu. You've gotten weaker, All Might. He added. Nowhere near as weak as I could have been. The man growled as he clenched his fists. Besides, you're one to talk, kind of hard not to notice that life support mask you've got on. He added. Are you overexerting yourself? He taunted. Don't flatter yourself. The man retorted, dusting off his shoulder. This monster just held All Might back with his bare hands. Tata thought with a gulp. There's too many of them, we need to get Kachan out of there so All Might can have room to fight. The Sin of Greed said. How, though? We can't actively fight the villains to get him out of there because of the legal crap. Tata hissed. Maybe we don't need to fight. Izuku muttered as he started thinking of a plan of action. Or at least, you guys won't. He amended. What do you mean? Iida questioned. This plan's gonna sound crazy, so I'm going to need you to listen, all of you, very carefully. He responded, causing everyone to lean in. Back with All Might and Katsuki. I won't repeat the mistake I made 5 years ago, you can be sure of that. The symbol of peace stated. I'm going to end you, right along with your stupid, despicable league of villains. He yelled, rushing at them. No you don't. The symbol of evil growled as he intercepted his nemesis, blowing him back with an attack that was eerily similar to All Might's own punches. Tamura, take your group and Bakugo so you can leave. He told his student. But, Master, what about you? The decay villain questioned. I am unimportant, Tamura. My old flame will not last forever, which is why I will leave the rest to you. The man stated as he sent rivets into Kurogiri. Forcible quirk activation, warp gate. He intoned as a portal opened. Master, what are you doing? Tamura gasped in surprise. Making sure you have a chance. Now go. All for one ordered. Like hell I'm going anywhere with you asshats. Katsuki yelled, pointing his knife at the love in preparation for a fight. However, before the fiends could even move, the wall behind them suddenly blasted apart from behind, and from within the smoke came the sound of humming. Or was it whistling? Ban. A voice said before a blur came out of the smoke and slammed a backhanded fist into Magna's face, causing him to accidentally activate his quirk on Toga, who was standing in front of the portal, dragging the male members towards her. What the? You guys are flying at me too fast. She exclaimed nervously before all of the love members suddenly felt weaker, including All for One, who had a very noticeable reduction in his power. So the undead reject finally shows his face. All for One said as he staggered from the strength loss, right as Tamura was being pulled through the portal. Master. The man cried as he disappeared, leaving the three alone as the dust cleared and showed Izuku standing there, grasping his hand as if he'd just stolen more power. Hello, All for One. Izuku said in a tense tone as he tried to put up a brave face to hide his fear. If there was one thing that was mandatory in this fight, it was showing no fear. Am I late? He questioned, forcing his usual cocky smirk as he cracked his knuckles. Flashback. You're going to do what? Tada questioned incredulously as Izuku finished explaining the whole plan. I'm going out there to distract them. Fighting is the last thing I plan to do, but I'll definitely take power from each of them. Izuku responded. If I can do that, I can give it to All Might when we escape and give him a chance to regain the ground he's lost. He added. But what if something goes wrong? Momo questioned her classmate in well-placed worry. Then I'll handle it, the Fox Sin told them, walking towards the opposite end of the wall. Remember our agreement, if this gets out. Put the blame on me. He added. No one else. Flashback end. No, you're not late. In fact, you're right on time. The old villain chuckled darkly. Young Midoriya, run. This is a fight you can't just tank and shrug off. No. One hero yelled urgently. Oh come on, All Might. The boy said, smirk still forced as he tightened his gaze on the symbol of evil right before rushing at him, kicking up a wind blast in the process as All for One narrowly avoided a kick meant for his face. Have a little faith. He added as the force of the missed kick still sent everyone backwards. You are a natural-born nuisance. All for One growled. But when I take your immortality, none can ever hope to depose me. He added with an audible grin. Well then, you should probably know that, the sin of greed said as he popped his neck. Unfortunately, I'm no longer immortal. He stated. What? The ancient man uttered, taken aback by the response he got. That's right, I gave up my immortality in favor of bringing my girlfriend back. Izuku stated with a grin, causing All for One to tremble in fury. Here stood someone that had a quirk for immortality, and he just gave it up for his girlfriend. He had one of the greatest quirks of the age, and he chose the path of inevitable death. Unbelievable. How could you throw away something anyone and everyone would kill for? The symbol of evil yelled angrily, and All Might had to admit, it was nice to see his nemesis raging for once. That is the most naive thing I've ever heard come out of that mouth of yours. Izuku deadpanned. Haven't you heard? Immortality is a curse if you have to spend eternity alone. He declared. This seemed to hit the old man rather well, causing him to look down at his hand, remembering the times he'd felt it on his brother's head when they were young. Yes, I suppose that is rather true, isn't it? The man mused, turning back to the boy. It is rather lonely, at the top. He continued, before clenching his fists. How disappointing that you won't be able to know what that's like. He yelled as he attacked again. Izuku growled as he retaliated with a kick aimed at the villain's face again, forcing him to dodge and stagger back a bit. You won't survive this night, you bastard. The Fox Sin growled as he went on the offensive, and thanks to him stealing a good chunk of All for One's power, the villain couldn't retaliate as easily as he'd have liked. I don't believe it. Young Midoriya is actually forcing him back. No. One hero thought in astonishment before he got serious. I need to be ready. The second he finds a window, all for one will go and exploit it. He added. As he thought this, Izuku started unleashing a flurry of swift and powerful jabs at all for one, then a left and right cross, followed by the same combo, and then got on his side and started rapidly kicking him with shocking speed. RGH. That purgatory training has definitely done wonders for him. All for one thought as he grit his teeth under his mask while blocking the kicks. As Izuku leapt back to his feet and got ready for another attack, his target found a window and punched him in All Might's direction, the teen blocking the blow and skidding to a stop beside his mentor. On a scale of 1 to 100, how much do you wanna yell at me? The Viridian-haired teen questioned as he glanced at his mentor. 200, but that can wait. The no. One hero replied. Can that power you stole help win this fight? He questioned. In your hands, yeah. Izuku nodded in reply, cracking his knuckles. But first, need to create an opening. He continued. Oi, Kachan. Get ready. We're about to blow this popsicle stand. He called. Just what are you planning? The Pomeranian questioned. Just watch. The boy told him before rushing at all for one again and clashing hands with him, struggling like he and All Might had just moments prior. Alright guys, do it now. He yelled, right as a heaven-piercing ice wall shot into the air and Kirishima broke through the wall with King and Iida, all of them blasting up the ramp of ice. What the? The symbol of evil gasped in shock before Izuku reared his head back and slammed it into the man's mask, sending him careening back and cracking the device in question. Alright All Might, now it's up to you. Izuku exclaimed before he used gift to send the power to his teacher, who immediately felt the difference. Come on. Kirishima yelled down to them, arm outstretched. Kachan, do it. The Fox Sin told the Dragon Sin. Right. Katsuki nodded as his friend and rival grabbed his shoulder, allowing him to send both of them flying toward the rescue team. The two then landed on Tata's pillow as he flew them away. You idiots. The blonde smirked. We're idiots who are either brave or dumb enough to go through with this rescue. Tata shot back with a grin, before turning away. Personally I thought we should have just let the villains keep you. He huffed. I think what King means to say is that he's happy you're okay, man. Kirishima told him. Yeah, thanks for flipping the legal shit off for this, guys. Katsuki sighed as they flew. Quote. Okay, who are you, and what have you done with Bakugo? Iida questioned with a bewildered tone. Hey, Purgatory has a way of humbling people, okay. Katsuki snapped back indignantly. Izuku couldn't help but shake his head at this, some things just never change. Elsewhere. Back with All Might and All for One, the symbol of peace took a deep breath as he felt himself regain all the power he'd expended while holding back from earlier and then some. Maybe I'll tone the 200 down to a modest 75, he mused before he glared at his nemesis. This is it. It's just you and me, All for One. He declared. No, it's just me, All Might. The symbol of evil retorted as the two stomped towards each other. At the end of this night, one shall stand, and one shall fall. I refuse to let this continue any longer. The symbol of peace yelled as they started running towards each other. Likewise. His nemesis responded, running as well. The two titans reared their fists back and threw them forward as they got close to each other, the collision creating a powerful shockwave that ended up leveling several of the surrounding buildings. It was at this point that Gran Torino arrived on the scene, witnessing the scene before him and the condition of his former pupil. What the? I thought he'd be running on fumes by now. What happened? He wondered. I won't let this continue. Now there's a phrase that takes me back. All for One said as he started increasing his power output to match All Might. Who is it that said that to me? Oh, I remember, it was your mentor Nana Shimura. He continued, pushing back against his foe. A waste of a woman with no skill and lofty ideals that she couldn't live up to. The fact that I, the creator of One for All, had to watch her use it in such a paltry way was beyond irritating. He added. The only thing I think that woman even had going for her was her beauty. Shall I tell you how she died? He taunted. Nana Shimura was a great woman, and an equally great hero. I won't let you sully her name. The no. One hero growled as he pushed back. So keep her name out of your filthy mouth. He roared. All for One then used this moment of anger to knee-kick the blonde in the chin, sending him flying into the air and on a collision course with a news helicopter. Luckily for the people aboard it, however, Gran Torino was able to intercept him and get him back to the ground. You're making the same mistake you did 6 years ago. The old man grunted as they landed. He's exploiting your anger. Calm your nerves and use your wits, Toshi. He told his former pupil. Yes, sir. The man nodded as they landed. What happened? I thought you'd be running on fumes by now. The quick hero questioned. It was young Midoriya. He used Snatch to steal power from as many people as possible and gave it to me somehow before he escaped. The hero explained. Though I have no idea how he did it. He mused. Save that question for later and count your lucky stars. The old man told him. If you have enough power, you can finally finish the job properly this time. He added as they stomped towards a waiting all for one. I find myself conflicted. The centuries-old man mused. Tamura was the one who had been chipping away at the public's trust in heroes. So is it really fair that I land the final blow? He questioned as he walked towards the two. Though I suppose it would be fitting two titans of a previous and bygone era killing each other to make way for the era that's starting behind them. He continued, dusting his hands off. Poetic, don't you think? He added. There is a semblance of poetry to this, I must admit. All Might mused as he mulled it over, and could see the way the fight looked. Two of the strongest powerhouses of the past, snuffing out each other's lives to pave the way for the future, and leave a legacy behind for the next generation. You know, All Might, as much as you hate me I probably loathe you more. The symbol of evil said as they neared each other. I killed your master, sure. But you took so much more from me, everything I tried to build. He continued. That's why I want you to suffer before I kill you. He added, his arm bulging. Broken and disgraced, for all the world to see. He yelled. I'd like to see you try. The no. One hero shot back as he got into a stance, ready to catch the blow. However, All for One took notice of a woman in some rubble behind his nemesis, causing him to smirk darkly under his mask. Not everyone's so fast, you know. He grinned as he released the same blast from before, forcing All Might to block it with his body, but to his frustration, he didn't deflate. How frustrating, it seems that Izuku Midoriya's efforts are still paying off. He growled. Having a pragmatic successor has its perks. All Might grinned wittily, hoping to get under his nemesis' skin with his remark and turn the tables. Ah, I forgot how stubborn you can be. The man sighed as he shrugged. Although, there is something I'm sure you'd like to know, All Might. He continued. Tamura Shigaraki, my beloved apprentice. He's Nana Shimura's grandson, Tenko Shimura. He added, a dark smirk on his face. Quote. What? The man choked out as he froze up at the revelation. I threw blows at Nana's grandson. Young Midoriya even hurt him. What would Nana say if she found out what he turned into? He rambled in his head as he freaked out internally. My, what's wrong, All Might? The symbol of evil questioned, turning up his cheeks with his thumbs. Where's your famous smile now? You look like you've seen a ghost. He chortled. That's it. That's fucking it. I'm going to kill him for desecrating Nana's memory like this. All Might thought as his shock gave way to righteous fury. He knew now what his arch-enemy had done. He found Tenko at a young age and groomed him to hate him, All Might, to the point that he would actively seek to topple society and let anarchy reign. This was a travesty, a heresy of the highest order, and he would not stand for it. All for one. The mountain of a man roared as he charged at his mortal enemy as Gran Torino helped the woman from before, both her and everyone else watching the battle cheering him on. If the blonde hero wasn't invigorated before, he certainly was now. He let out another roar as he threw fists with his nemesis, the shockwaves sending rubble flying. The other pros including Endeavor also arrived to observe the fight. Show him why you're better, All Might. The no. Two hero roared over the shockwaves. Enji, Toshinori thought as he recalled his old classmate, before he turned back to the task at hand. This is the end for you, now and forever. He yelled as he kept bashing his foe's skull in over and over, the power slowly going away and his form receding, but the damage was still being done. I won't let you kill me, All Might. All for One yelled defiantly as he tried to punch back, but the force behind the blows he was taking were leaving him dazed enough for his punches to miss their marks. Likewise, All for One. The symbol of peace yelled as they clashed with one more punch, causing an explosion that created a meteor-sized crater and revealed All Might's non-muscle form. Ah, finally, now everyone will see your weakened body. The villain said, the top of his suit destroyed, until he stopped upon seeing something completely contrary to what he originally expected. The man's deflated form looked like it was that of a healthy man who had taken care of himself regularly, and showed signs of bouncing back from malnourishment. Even his face looked like it was fine. What's the matter? Surprised. The blonde taunted. But, that's impossible. I saw you the day we fought, entrails spilling out everywhere. You shouldn't have been able to. The man exclaimed, still in shock. And who do you think contributed to my recovery? The hero grinned, already envisioning what was about to happen next. Think long and hard, All for One. Just who could have helped create a healing agent that could heal the wounds you gave me? He questioned. Izuku Midoriya, the symbol of evil, growled, shaking with anger. Now it all makes sense. Why you recovered, why this battle has taken so long, and why One for All seems weaker than it was 5 years ago. He snarled. You passed it along to him, didn't you? You're only using its embers now. He added. On top of the power young Midoriya stole from you and the rest of your league to give to me. The man smirked. How does it feel to know that I recovered while you barely did? He taunted. It feels like I'm going to enjoy murdering that meddlesome brat. All for One yelled angrily as he started activating all the strength-based quirks he had gathered. Spring-like limbs. Kinetic booster. Strength enhancer times 3. Multiplier. Hypertrophy. Air walk. Rivets. Spear-like bones. He yelled as his arm morphed into a gruesome contraption of mangled flesh and who knows what. What in the world? Gran Torino gasped as he looked at the messed up limb. This is the culmination of all the strength quirks I've collected since the dawn of the quirk age. This will be what kills you. All for One roared at his nemesis. Then let this be our final clash, All for One. Toshinori said as he called on the last embers of One for All to bulk up his body, one last time. After this, both his and All for One's times would be over. The two titans charged forward with bellowing roars, their fists ready to clash. The second they were close to each other, they threw their fists forward, and All Might's arm ended up having blood burst from it, but it was nowhere near as bad as it could have been otherwise. You're right, All for One. I should have reprimanded young Midoriya for coming here. The symbol of peace said as he pushed his foe back inch by inch. I failed as his teacher, but at the same time, I'm proud of him, for taking my words to heart. He added as he let the man blast past him to leave himself open, before striking him in the face by swapping to his left arm, breaking the rest of All for One's mask off. A clever trick. That's so unlike you. The symbol of evil growled. Still weak though. He added, counter-attacking. That's because I didn't put my back into it. Toshinori shouted as he batted the man's arms away with a cross chop, leaving him open. I failed as a teacher, so I must make it up to him until young Midoriya becomes a pillar ready to take my place. I refuse to die, I will survive. He bellowed, as he charged the last of his power into his left arm and twisted his waist to give himself more momentum, aiming straight for his enemy's heart. Goodbye, All for One. He said, smiling once more. Then came the last words All for One would ever hear. United States of SMAAAAAAAASH. The blond man thundered as his blow hit home, tearing a hole through All for One's chest and creating a tornado so powerful it reached somewhere in the F-10 range, given it was sweeping up chunks of destroyed buildings. After a few moments, it stopped, and Toshinori stood on All for One's form. Goodbye, One, for All. He sighed as he pulled his fist back, blood covering it, and his enemy's barely beating heart in it. Tamura, forgive me, the leader of the League of Villains muttered weakly, before his last breath was drawn, as All Might crushed his heart in his hand. The nightmare was finally over. Meanwhile, Izuku and Katsuki stood with the rest of the rescue team, all of them looking at a CCTV that was showing the fight between All Might and All for One. When they saw the old villain's heart get crushed, everyone felt sick at the sight of so much blood. But it was accompanied by a wave of cheers of relief as All Might went into his muscle form one last time, and raised a triumphant fist in the air for all to see, his final act as the symbol of peace. It's over, it's actually over, Tata muttered, feeling like a weight had been lifted off his shoulders. Yeah, but it's also the beginning of something bigger. Izuku muttered in agreement. As everyone cheered his name, happy that their hero was alive, the sun rose and everyone watched as rescues were done and All for One's remains were gathered. But as this occurred, All Might did something that got all of their attention and shocked a few select people in particular. He turned to the camera that was on him, and pointed at it, as if addressing who was on the other end. Now, he said, his voice ragged, tired, almost defeated. Now it's your turn, he added. To many, this was a message to the villains of Japan that they were next on the block. However, Izuku knew the true meaning. It was his turn to uphold society now. All of this was riding on him. The sin of greed could feel his shoulders getting heavier already. Chapter 26, End of the Beginning. Review replies. Harlequin 31, well, that was easy. Dragon Emperor 0, don't count your chickens, man. We still have a long way to go. Thermal Sniper N7, ain't that the truth? Ninja Fang 1331, amazing work. I love this update. Dragon Emperor 0, thank you. We're quite pleased with it ourselves. Thermal Sniper N7, yeah. Offing AFO like that felt satisfying. XX Kaneko Lover XX, I only have one problem. All Might improve One for All to its current heights in 40 years, so Izuku in the over 1000 years should have straight up pasted muscular with like 0.00001% of One for All. Dragon Emperor 0, I honestly don't think so. All Might only improved the quirk so well because he used it for over 50 years, not 40. So I reworked it by basically multiplying All Might's best feats by 20 to equal 1000 years worth of training, then multiplied that by 3 to get his current level when he really gets serious. Thermal Sniper N7, and Izuku pancaking muscular with that power percentage level feels more at home in One Punch Man, not MHA. Carney Jared, so is a Ochako like Kurogiri a high-end Nomu. Dragon Emperor 0, no. She was resurrected via a quirk. Completely different scenario. Thermal Sniper N7, exactly. Question dude, whatever happened to your Godzilla x Bakugan stories? Why are they gone? Dragon Emperor 0. They were rebooted because we started reevaluating our writing style and priorities as well as it not being up to our new quality standards. That and we decided to move away from harem and taboo stuff for personal reasons. But, there is a reboot of it posted right now. Why don't you check it out? Thermal Sniper N7, yeah. You can see how far we've come in comparison to before. Nightmare Lord, now this was a satisfying finish. Looking forward to what comes next. Dragon Emperor 0, glad to hear it. Thermal Sniper N7, what he said. Isaac Stormblood 1, wait Izuku can snatch cancer out of people, he would make a killing as a surgeon. Dragon Emperor 0, ha. Man I wish. Nah, man, his snatch isn't that precise. Thermal Sniper N7, maybe we can make a skit out of it, though. Isaac Stormblood 1, random thought what if Ochako had a massive war hammer as a support item that transfers force better than normal objects and to counteract the weight she just uses her quirk to build speed in her swing then deactivates her quirk before impact for maximum power hell she could use the same concept for movement too by slamming the hammer into the ground and propelling herself forward with the force. Basically that gravity hammer from Fortnite, but with extra steps. Dragon Emperor 0, that may happen, but I can neither confirm or deny right now due to spoilers. Flo T. I get that this is a 7 deadly sins what if but I don't think Merlin, Escanor, Diane, and Gauther were introduced. Izuku Bon, Bakugo Meliodas, somehow, and Tata King. I want to see an awesome team moment you know. Dragon Emperor 0, somehow. Dude, it's stated outright that he gained full counter via prolonged exposure to demonic energy. Thermal Sniper N7. As tempting as it would be to have all 7 sins together, there's just not enough candidates for more than 2, or 3, in Fox Sin's case, in each story at a time. We don't know who would fit the bill for each of the others. Metropolitan Police Department. The Nomus we captured from the factory are just as unresponsive as the last batch. A police executive explained as he gave a report regarding the Camino Ward incident. They're basically mindless animals, and with the warehouse being destroyed, there's not much data we can collect. He continued. And we haven't gotten any worthwhile information from the bar at all. Another questioned. No sir. The man replied. We captured most of the Nomu but let the perpetrators get away aside from all for one being taken out of the picture I'd have to say that this whole thing was a draw. A third stated. Don't be stupid. The second man retorted. The country just lost its symbol of peace. All Might's power is gone now, and what's more, his chosen successor has lost his immortality as well. He added. This is what we get for relying too much on one man, and expecting his chosen successor to stay immortal. A fourth commented. Now people will realize that they can raise hell with minimal effort. He added. Our initial profile of Shigaraki was that he was childish and prone to tantrums. But now his thought process has matured he seems more interested in how he can shape our society. The second man nodded. And now the league has the best opportunity to come back stronger. He added. Which means we need to implement changes. Nodded the group's leader. Elsewhere. Unfortunately, the embers of One for All have been snuffed out. All Might, or Toshinori Yagi, sighed. His body was now looking much better. It wasn't like his muscle form, but now he looked much more like an average man his age healthier. Heck, even his eyes weren't sunken in anymore. Yes, and your so-called successor gave up his one advantage as well. Gran Torino nodded. He'd sooner debunk that and call his advantage a curse, Gran Torino. The former no. One hero told his mentor. Regardless, I can't just sit around and do nothing. He stated. You're referring to Tamura Shigaraki, Shimura's grandson, correct? Gran Torino questioned. All we have is all for one's own words. Not much to go on. Tsukauchi mused. But, it did make me start thinking. He continued as he pulled out a file. Tenko Shimura, previously thought quirkless at age 5, was considered the prime suspect in the mass slaughter of his family when he suddenly manifested a quirk that the police decided to call decay for simplicity's sake. He began. Apparently he grew up in an abusive household and there are some that think the kid killed his family on purpose in retribution before disappearing when the police tried to put him in foster care. He added. Which is when All for One found him and took him under his wing. The blonde man deduced. That's the connection I'm making. The police officer nodded. It's likely the fact that we were forbidden by Shimura from keeping in contact with her family after her husband was killed. The old man sighed. A plan that backfired, it would seem. He mused. I can't help but feel like I should do something. Toshinori hissed, utterly dejected. You're taking too much of the blame, Toshinori. It's just as much my fault as well, don't be greedy. His mentor told him, sighing. Honestly, that kid of yours is starting to rub off on you and not in a good way. he added. Elsewhere, Izuku sighed as he fell onto his bed after he and the others got Katsuki to safety completely exhausted. The forfeiture of his immortality in exchange for Ochako's life mixed with the rescue and his own unfortunate involvement in fighting All for One had taken a toll on his mind and body, but this was nothing new, generally. It did pay off, however, since All for One was dead. He ended up sleeping into the late evening when he got a phone call from All Might right as he was about to be out like a log. Snapping awake, the sin of greed quickly threw on a coat and bolted out of his house not wanting to keep his beloved mentor waiting. All Might, he exclaimed as he rushed towards the man, glad to see that he was okay beyond relieved, actually. The two immediately ended up hugging each other, before the blonde looked like he was about to punch the boy. Texas. He started to yell before Izuku held up his hand. If you're going to punch me, you might as well save your energy. By this point I probably won't even feel it. The Fox Sin stated. Plus, even if I did, I'd just end up liking it. So it wouldn't serve a purpose. He added. Quote. Fuck. The blonde cursed, realizing he was right as he lowered his fists. But that's besides the point. What the hell were you thinking, fighting All for One like you did back there? He questioned in frustration. Wasn't it you who told me that meddling when you're not supposed to is the essence of being a hero? Izuku questioned, arms folded. Or are you just as much a hypocrite as Mr. Aizawa? He added, unimpressed. There were a few beats of silence before Toshinori sighed. I'm going nowhere fast with this conversation, aren't I? He asked in defeat, knowing this argument wasn't his. Basically. The Fox Sin nodded with a shrug. Look, I know I did a lot of shit I shouldn't have done, but the results are favorable in a few cases. Chief among them is All for One's death. Japan and the world can rest easy knowing that the murderous old bastard is dead. He stated. That is certainly true. All Might nodded. But in the process, you also gave up your immortality. You can't fight as flippantly anymore. He stated. My body's durable to the point where I can handle the equivalent of your best without so much as a scratch. I think I'm fine. His student retorted. Being mortal doesn't matter to you, does it? The man noted. Not in the slightest. The boy nodded. Well, you did say it best. Immortality is a curse if you have to spend eternity alone. Toshinori mused. But I do urge you to be careful still, since you'll be liable to have a target on your back when Tamura Shigaraki figures out you're mortal. He advised. Faye. The Fox Sin huffed. Let him come. I'll give him a quick and painless death. He added, flexing his hand. The next day. Later on, in Nezu's office. Thank you, All Might. You've saved many people over the years, even if it cost you your power. The Chimera told the former hero. As a citizen, a hero and the principal, I cannot express how grateful we all are to you. However, given recent events, many people have expressed that you shouldn't continue as a teacher at UA. He continued. There are some who even believe that our troubles began when you started working here. They worry the children will be caught in the crossfire, and that you can't protect them. He pointed out. And yet some of the children have the mettle to come out of each past scenario alive, at least. The blonde stated, recalling how Izuku held his own against All for One. It is a delicate situation. Nevertheless, I believe I may know a way to address the issues the public has expressed. The principal nodded. So, we're going to implement something I've had in mind for a while. He added. What would that be, exactly? Aizawa questioned. He got his answer in the form of Nezu presenting him with a notice. This. The Chimera principal replied. I'm counting on all of you to explain this to the children's families. He told them. Later. I dunno, sounds pretty out of tune to me. Kyoka Jiro's father stated as All Might and Aizawa visited their house. I know you guys don't wanna keep talking about what happened, but moving the kids into dorms doesn't change the fact that my daughter was injured. He added. That's part of why the dorm system is being set up, to keep this from happening again. Aizawa explained. It does seem rather cruel to keep her from her friends. Mrs. Jiro noted. Quite right, I can already think of several students who would miss her dearly. The former number one hero nodded. We're hoping you'll allow us to continue to teach young Kyoka, we believe that we can still make her into the best hero she can be. He told the two. Dad, you better not say no. The punk girl told her father as she entered the room. Ah, come on, Jiro, I'm trying to be strict and stuff. Her father whined. So uncool. The girl sighed. Later. Next were the Urarakas, and rather cheerfully, Ochako was back to her old self again, which made her teachers smile as the girl had been through a lot. It is nice of you to stop by. The family patriarch told them. And if you're wondering about our views on the dorms, we're willing to let Tata and Ochako go. The matriarch nodded. You've kept our children safe even under the most harrowing of circumstances. So we see no reason not to trust you. She added. Thank you both for understanding. Aizawa nodded. But on to a different topic, how's Izuku doing? The twins' dad questioned, looking at All Might. I'm not really sure, since we haven't visited him yet. The underground hero replied with a small shrug. Young Midoriya's been rather stoic about the whole ordeal, to tell the truth. All Might explained. But I can say one thing for certain, he doesn't regret exchanging his immortality for young Ochako's life. Not one bit, he added. That is very much like him. Mrs. Uraraka smiled. He'll give up anything for Ochako's life, even his greatest advantage. She added. I still think that boy's nothing but trouble. Her husband sighed. It's part of the reason why I was reluctant to say yes, because I knew just how much the self-proclaimed sin of greed would be all over our little girl. He nodded. But I suppose it can't be helped. He admitted. Tate'll keep an eye on them, dear. Don't worry. His wife chuckled. Young Midoriya at least cares about your daughter in his own way. The former number one mused. That much has been obvious from day one. Aizawa nodded. Later. Guess I owe you a drink after this. Aizawa noted as they headed to the next house. I'm not really much of a drinker. Toshinori waved off as he looked at the list for who came next. Okay, this one might be our most difficult family yet. We have to at least try. He thought. As if the universe were trying to prove him right. You kidding? Hell yeah, get this kid in a dorm room. Mitsuki Bakugo, who was currently 2 months pregnant, exclaimed, smacking her son on the head. Ah, you hag. The sin of wrath growled. Hit me again and I'll kill you. He snarled. What is this family dynamic? All Might wondered. Calm down, you two. No need to make a scene with guests. Masaru told the two. Shut it, you clown. The Pomeranian barked. Yeah, mind your own business. Oh, don't you even think about using your quirk, Katsuki. Mitsuki snapped. Bit me. Katsuki snapped back. So I take it that you've decided to let him stay. Aizawa questioned. Oh, the dorm. Actually, we're grateful. The blonde MILF nodded. Really? I didn't expect you to consider letting your son continue his hero studies after what happened. The blonde man blinked in surprise. You guys managed to get him back, and it's clear he's turning out a lot better than what he used to with how you're teaching him. So, we know he's a pain, but please keep him on the right track. The woman replied. Katsuki was silent, but had an irritated look on his face. Katsuki's been spoiled for as long as he can remember because of his stupid awesome quirk, whether he deserves it or not. Mitsuki continued. He's also seriously determined and does his best at everything he tries. We trust you to do what you can for him. She added, bowing along with her husband, while forcing her son to do the same. Looks like I owe you a drink for this one. All Might whispered with a smile. Later. Guess that leaves Midoriya and a few others. His apartment is close by. Aizawa noted as they stepped outside. Want me to go and talk to young Midoriya's mother alone so you can handle the others? The former hero asked. Let's split up. You can handle Midoriya. Aizawa nodded. As the number one hero was about to head to Izuku's house, Katsuki approached him. All Might. The blonde said as he walked outside. Yes. The man questioned. I gotta ask, what is Deku to you? He questioned. He's a student of mine, like you are. The man replied after choosing his words carefully. The boy uttered, not sounding satisfied. Something is definitely up, he thought, feeling a little suspicious. Later. Izuku let out a cavernous yawn as he walked towards the front door of his and Inko's apartment, the sound of knocking from the other side. Be right there. The boy called as he walked towards the door only to open it and see All Might standing there. All Might. What are you doing here? He questioned, not expecting his mentor to stop by. Inko heard his words and came to see what was up, feeling just as surprised as her son. Yeah, mind if I come in? The retired hero asked. Oh, yes. Come on in. Inko nodded with a blink as she invited the former symbol of peace into her home. This is so intense, she muttered to her tall son. Just play it cool, mom. Izuku told her. As the three sat down, All Might got straight to the point. So I'm sure you probably already know why I'm here. The letter we sent you. He began. I have read it, and, Inko nodded before trailing off as her hands shook. I must refuse, she said, causing Izuku to snap his head at her. What? He uttered with wide eyes. Was this some kind of joke? It wasn't funny, if it was. I know we talked about it earlier, but I've thought about it since then. Inko told him. And this is what you do. What are you thinking? The fox Sin questioned, feeling indignant. That I changed my mind. The woman exclaimed back, her eyes tightly shut. Ever since Izuku was a little kid, he's admired you. Even after his accident, he never stopped wanting to be a hero. She stated. But ever since joining UA, my child has been getting hurt over and over. She continued. And haven't you heard? He isn't immortal anymore, which made it all the more terrifying when I saw him fighting that man on TV, however brief it was. She added. I've heard, but that hasn't stopped him from his journey to become a hero. Toshinori nodded, knowing that the loss of immortality did nothing to stop Izuku. It also makes me fear for his safety. The Midoriya matriarch exclaimed. Before all this, I knew that my baby would just shrug anything off. Now I'm scared he won't survive whatever fight he's caught in next. She continued. Mom, Izuku hissed in a disturbingly calm tone, like he was trying to hold himself back. I'm at the point where I don't need my immortality. I survived the depths of purgatory, I'm beyond human level at this point. He told her. And that's supposed to assure me. Izuku, Inko started to say before she was cut off. Mom, I get that you're worried about me, but the fact that you refuse to let me go back to UA over past events is an insult. Do you have any faith in my abilities? The ex-immortal barked angrily. Wandel, who was watching off to the side, stayed silent. Of course I do, Izuku, I always have. But as your mother, it's my job too. She pleaded with him until he suddenly got up. Save it, he told her, storming off. Ya really should have considered how he'd react. The purgatory bird commented, which only made Inko give him a look that told him to shut up. I'm sorry, ma'am, perhaps I should go speak with him. The former symbol of peace said as he got up, only for Izuku to come back through the door, a piece of paper in hand. Mom, take a good, long look at this letter. You too, All Might. The sin of greed told his mother and mentor as he showed them what turned out to be a letter. This was written to me by a kid named Kota, a boy who hated quirks. I saved his life, he added. This made me feel like a hero, and proved to me that I was on the right track to making my life one worth living. He continued. Even if it isn't UA, I'll check out other hero courses. I refuse to give up now. He finished. Inko looked at the letter, then at her son, imagining the boy helping a child who so desperately needed someone like he had all those years ago. All Might, meanwhile, could feel his chest swell with pride at what his pupil was saying. The scene before him reminding him of days long past of when he was with Headmaster, as a boy. Standing up, the man went into his muscle form and knelt down in front of Inko, humbling himself to her. I'm afraid I haven't been up front, ma'am. Please allow me to try again. He told her. I believe that young Izuku is the right person to succeed me. That is to say, he is my choice to be the world's next symbol of peace. He elaborated. Was this because of the idea of an immortal symbol of peace? Inko questioned with narrowed eyes. All Might was silent for a moment as he took a breath. No ma'am, the reason is far more personal. The man explained, looking up at her. You see, when I first met young Izuku, I spoke with him after discovering his powers. And I saw a boy who had lost much like I had when I lost my master, my predecessor. He continued. I felt a connection with him, and in truth that bond only continued to grow as we trained together. He added. I'm sorry. Here I was being his hero when I should have been his teacher. So, allow me to apologize as a hero who once held the title. He then reverted to his true form before continuing. And allow me to apologize as a UA teacher. He told the woman. I implore you to forgive my past weakness. We are trying to protect our students the best we can. It's why we have the dorms now. Look not at the current UA, but towards the future. He continued. Will you allow me to continue on to teach young Izuku? I promise that we will go beyond, I will lift him up. He added. Inko was silent through the man's mini speech. And I will raise and protect your son as if he was my own child. He declared. Even if it costs me my life. He concluded resolutely, conviction thick in his voice. I've heard enough. Inko sighed. Izuku, if you want to go back to UA, then you need to promise me that you'll be beyond careful. I can't bear the thought of losing you if you forget you're not immortal at some point. She told her son. I won't, Mom. Izuku told her, hugging her. After all, I still have something to live for, remember. Ochako is still alive, he told her. I still find it noble how you gave up immortality in exchange for her. Inko sighed with a smile as she recalled that particular talk. Then she turned to Toshinori. And as for you, All Might, don't give your life up. I don't want you to cause Izuku unintentional grief. She told him. He needs you to teach him, raise him. If you can promise me that, then he can return to UA. She added. I promise. You have my word. The former symbol of peace told her, bowing his head. Later. You have a really good mother, young Midoriya. Toshinori noted as he and his student stood outside. Yeah, she's been one of the best moms in Japan as far as I've lived. Izuku nodded as he released a breath. Ya know, she reminds me of my predecessor, Nana Shimura. The former symbol of peace mused. Really? The Fox Sin questioned. Yeah, she looks remarkably similar to her, and in many ways, is just like my master. All Might smiled. You could honestly mistake them for relatives. He added. Quote. Mom never did say anything about my grandparents, Izuku mused thoughtfully. What are you thinking, young Midoriya? His mentor asked. That Nana Shimura might actually be in my family tree, the fox Sin trailed off before shrugging. But it could just as easily be a coincidence. Still, it could be worth exploring. He mused. True. All Might nodded. Time skip. A week later, Class 1A all stood within the grounds of the New Heights Alliance dormitories constructed in just a day with the help of the Urarakas expediting the process where Aizawa was waiting for them. Given everything that's happened, I'm glad that Class A is back together. The Erasure hero stated. Yeah, it's great to be back together again. Kirishima nodded. So we all got the go-ahead to move into the dorms. Zero noted. It took a lot of convincing from my parents. Hagakure sighed. Same. Jiro nodded. Makes sense, you did get the full brunt of the gas attack. Ojiro pointed out. I'm glad to see the teachers are back, I was afraid you wouldn't be allowed. Sue mused. The press seemed pretty upset with you. She added. That being said, however, Aizawa trailed off as he leveled his class with a serious gaze. Midoriya, Kirishima, Iida, Tada, Todoroki, Yaoyorozu. You six broke the rules and went to rescue Bakugo that night. He continued, getting nervous reactions from everyone else. The rest of you I assume did know about this but chose to say nothing. In doing so, you've lost the trust of the faculty. You have a lot to do to gain back that trust. He told them. And what's that supposed to mean? Izuku questioned, stepping forward. It means that had it not been for All Might's retirement, I would have expelled each and every one of you. The man stated, causing a vein to bulge in the former immortal's head. Bullshit. You'd seriously do that and put society at risk? He questioned with a bark, causing Aizawa to look at him. Sensei, you know damn well you can't expel us. Not because I'm a panicking teen, no. It's because expelling an entire class, one of which being someone who trained in purgatory for 1,000 years, is a major detriment to the safety of the public. Are you really willing to take that risk because of recent events? He questioned, glaring right into the underground hero's eyes. Rules are rules, Midoriya. That's just how things are. The man retorted. If All for One had defeated All Might due to us not interfering, the rules wouldn't have been worth jack shit. Izuku stated. They kidnapped Kachan to bait All Might out to both weaken society's trust in heroes and kill the symbol of peace in one go. And if the others and I hadn't gotten in the way when we did, they would have succeeded. The boy added. He's right. Is that really what you want, Sensei? For society to be weakened because rules held us back? Tada questioned. Meddling when you don't technically have to is the essence of being a hero. Shoto nodded, arms crossed. All Might said that to Midoriya once. Seems he's right. He added. And besides, the sin of greed said as he got between his classmates and their teacher. If you wanna expel someone, expel me. If you wanna blame someone, blame me. He told the hero. I was the one who convinced the others to go. I was the one who helped them get to the Nomu factory by talking Yaoyorozu into helping us. I was the one who came up with our rescue plan. And ultimately I was the one who entered combat to help All Might. He added. So, let the others off the hook, kick me out if that's what ya gotta do. He concluded. I don't think so. The Erasure hero replied, causing Izuku to blink. I know you well at this point, Midoriya. While it is noble, don't take blame that isn't fully yours. He stated. And if all of you want to earn back the trust of the faculty, you all must follow the rules and act as model students. He told his class. That's all. He finished in a more casual tone, dispelling the tense atmosphere. Everyone seemed to be in a really dour mood after that, at least until Katsuki suddenly grabbed Kaminari by the shirt and dragged him around the corner and proceeded to make him short-circuit. PFFT. You hopeless moron. Jiro snorted as the electric blonde acted like a loon, bringing some humor to lighten the mood. Oh please, you're just saying that cause you're totally into him. The fox Sin chortled. Wah. No I'm not. The punk rock girl denied with a blush. Denial is the first stage to enlightenment, they say. Tada teased. Meanwhile, Katsuki was giving some money to Kirishima. Here. This'll replace what you spent. He told the redhead. Whoa, did you shake him down for cash? The redhead questioned with wide eyes. No. This is my money, ya idiot. The blonde corrected. Now our debts are squared. Kaminari. Show him your dumb side. He called as he walked away. The currently dumb blonde did just that, causing everyone to laugh. Sorry guys, I know this won't make up for it, but let's all go out to eat tonight on me. Kirishima told the others, getting a chorus of cheers in response. Later. It was then that everyone entered the dorms together. Wow, look at all this. Zero exclaimed as he looked at the common room. There's even a courtyard. Tada exclaimed. So spacious and new. Mina added. I'm living in a mansion. Ochako uttered as she suddenly passed out of pure shock. Uraraka. Iida gasped. She'll be fine. Tada waved off when he saw a few of the others worrying. Your rooms are separated by floor, 4 boys and 2 girls. Living accommodations should be suitable. In addition to your belongings, you have the basics of furniture and such. Aizawa told them. I'll leave you to get unpacked. He added. Thank you. The kids nodded. Later. Man, I'm so beat. Kirishima sighed as he fell back on the couch after a long day of unpacking. You and me both. Shiro nodded. Feels good, right? Izuku smirked as he flipped through his soda collection book. I know we could have died, but it's kind of cool to be living here. Kaminari grinned. What do we do now, though? Sato wondered, getting shrugs from the rest of the boys. Hiya boys. What ya doin'? Mina questioned as she and the rest of the girls approached them. Just relaxing after unpacking. Izuku stated. It was pretty taxing. The pink girl admitted in response. But that aside, me and the girls talked a bit and we came up with the best idea. She continued with a smile. We decided to have a contest to see who has the best dorm. Toru added, causing most of the kids to lock up. Oh hell no. Izuku said, closing his book. What, scared of people seeing your room, Midoriya? Mina teased. No, I'm not. If I was, I wouldn't have plans to let Ochako look at it at some point. The Fox Sin huffed in reply. Well, in that case, you might as well let us look. The acid user grinned as she walked up to the ex-immortal's dorm door. Quote. Fine. But if you touch anything, I'm spanking the lot of you. The Fox Sin stated as he let the class enter his room. This choice of words caused both the girls and the guys to lock up. As they had both been on the receiving end of a Fox Sin beatdown before and it was not an experience either group wished to repeat. Shaking that off, they looked around Izuku's room and were amazed by what they found. There was plenty of All Might merchandise, including a few statues, along with a nice amount of Arthurian merchandise like a few statuettes, for example. All Might everywhere. You're such a fanboy. Mina chuckled. Yeah, definitely should have expected this. Tada nodded. Hey, this Arthurian stuff looks pretty sweet. Kirishima grinned as he looked at a statuette of Arthur Pendragon. Hey Midoriya, stop by my room whenever you want after this is over. I think I have some labels for that collection of yours. Jiro told the Sin of Greed. Sweet, will do. Izuku grinned, which got him a jealous glare from Kaminari. In case you haven't guessed, Kaminari had developed a not-so-secret crush on Jiro ever since the training camp. All the guys knew, as did the majority of the girls. Tada's room. I don't particularly care what you guys think of my room, honestly. The Grizzly Sin shrugged nonchalantly as he opened the door to his room. As they entered, they saw a room that was pretty plainly decorated, with the only real noticeable big-ticket items being a TV, Xbox and PS, a beanbag chair fashioned to look like Chastiful's pillow form, a large fake tree that was seemingly fashioned in the visage of Yggdrasil with a hammock and similarly patterned blanket to the chair. Chastiful was also there in its pillow form. He also had plants as well, ones from home. This is exactly what I expected from you, King. Izuku commented with a nod. This is pretty plain, but the game consoles are great to have on hand. Toru commented. Hey, maybe we can have a few matches, Kaminari proposed with a grin. What'd you play? He asked. Looter shooters, RPGs, roguelites, stuff like that. The boy yawned nonchalantly. Same. Izuku shrugged. Tokiyami's room. HMPH, no way. The bird huffed as he blocked their way, coolly leaning against the door. The girls, however, would not take now for an answer and pushed him out of the way before heading inside. What greeted them was all manner of gothic and occult items, and his room was as dark as the night. Whoa. So creepy. Mina and Toru exclaimed as they looked around. You fiends. Tokiyami shuddered, his body shaking with fury. Whoa, hey, I had a keychain like this when I was in middle school. Kirishima noted, holding up a rather emo-looking keychain. Please leave. The bird boy told them. Why am I not surprised that you have dark souls all over the place? Izuku mused as he looked at said things, including a replica of the iconic twisted sword and the game being on pause on a TV in the room. Considering how much torture that game puts players through, that fits Tokiyami to a T. Shiro remarked. Aoyama's room. Behold. Aren't you dazzled? The French blonde exclaimed as everyone tried to look around at Aoyama's very sparkly room. I feel like I'm about to go blind. Izuku groaned, covering his eyes. Gah, same. Tada hissed as he shielded his own eyes. Okay, let's move on before we actually lose our vision. Mina exclaimed. Ojiro's room. Plain. That was all you needed to describe Ojiro's room. Is this really all you have? Mina blinked. Please tell me you just haven't unpacked yet. Toru groaned in disbelief. Can we just move on? The tailed teen sweat dropped. Iida's room. Whoa, it looks like a library in here. Ochako noted as she looked around the many bookshelves the class representative had. That's the class representative for you. Mina nodded. You'll find nothing odd in here. Iida told them. You even have spare glasses. The gravity girl laughed in amusement. Of course I do. The speedster exclaimed. I expect them all to be destroyed during training. He added. Pretty sure we train so that we don't break stuff, Iida. King's sweat dropped. Yeah, having spares is good and all, but it defeats the purpose of the training. Izuku added in agreement. Kaminari's room. The Electro Kid's room was one that had a pretty easy theme to describe. Trendy, following the latest fads, with a slight bit of hot topic gaudiness. Really? The girls questioned. This is the part of the store I'd avoid. Jiro remarked. What? It's perfect. The blonde exclaimed defensively. Kaminari, you spend way too much time at Hot Topic. Izuku stated. This coming from the guy who dresses in all leather. Katsuki retorted. At least I make that leather look awesome. The fox Sin shrugged. Koda's room. He has a rabbit. The girls exclaimed as they entered the plainly decorated room of Koda. No fair, he's buying the judge's love. Tada complained. It is a nice rabbit, though. The Sin of Greed shrugged with a smile. Later. Man, this sucks. Kaminari groaned. I feel so judged right now. He added. What a coincidence, I don't feel great. Ojiro nodded. Same here. Tokiyami grumbled. I don't particularly care. Izuku shrugged. Seems like to me that the girls should be held to the same standards. Katsuki stated, rolling his eyes. Yep. King nodded. Right at that moment. Come on, guys. We're not done yet. Mina exclaimed as she came up to them. Kirishima's room. I don't really expect you guys to get what I'm going for. The redhead trailed off as he opened his door. Inside was what looked like a man cave, even having a punching bag. A den of manliness. He grinned. Nice. Izuku grinned as he looked around in appreciation. If I found out my boyfriend had a room like this, I'd dump him. Toru remarked, Mina nodding in agreement. Wow, Toru, bit harsh don't you think? King questioned. Shoji's room. You'll find nothing weird in here. The masked teen told them as he opened his door. The inside of his room looked rather minimal since there was barely anything to speak of. More like nothing at all, man. Mina noted. Didn't peg you to be a minimalist. Izuku commented with a blink. Suits you, though. Shoto nodded. I just never understood why people would fill their room with junk. Shoji shrugged. Bakugo's room. Just so you know, you touch anything, you die. The Pomeranian warned. Go suck air through a reed. King heckled as he opened the door. Inside was, probably a lot of things that suited him. There were fake grenades, some weights, a drum set, a stereo, TV, some rock climbing gear, and apparently, an entire cooler of limited edition hot sauces and spicy foods. You play drums. Kirishima blinked, not expecting Katsuki to be a drummer. Took lessons as a kid. The blonde replied, rolling his eyes. That's pretty cool. Jiro nodded. Later. Next is Siro. Ochako cheered. Wait, we're really doing everybody's? The tape boy questioned. Apparently. Kirishima shrugged in reply. Siro's room. Upon entering, no one expected the Asian decor they were greeted with. This is so exotic. Mina exclaimed in amazement. And lovely. Ochako added in glee. I didn't think you'd be into this kind of thing. Jiro commented with an impressed look on her face. Yeah, same here. The fox Sin nodded in agreement. He, that's me. Always the wild card. Siro chuckled. Next is Todoroki, right? Toru questioned. Yep. Mina nodded. Shoto's room. This is it, Momo thought with a gulp. The most capable student in our class. Momo thought. The most handsome guy in school. Mina added. A chance to glance at his private life, how exciting. Toru gushed. Upon entering. So Japanese. Everyone yelled in shock. It was true. The two-tone teen's room looked like a traditional Japanese bedroom, even having a matching window. It was even built differently. Kaminari gasped. We have these kind of mats at home. It's much more comfortable than hardwood. The two-toned boy noted. This isn't your house. Kaminari exclaimed. It's only been a day. How'd you remodel this so fast? King questioned in shock. With hard work. Shoto replied simply. You are a beast, the human Pikachu uttered with wide eyes. Later. And the last of the boys is. Mina hummed. Quote. Me. Sato nodded. Ah yes, the class pastry chef. Izuku chuckled. At least he's probably better at cooking than Bakugo, King mused, his now much larger wing fluttering. Oi! The explosive boy snapped indignantly. Don't think we forgot about how spicy you made the food back at camp, Mina told him with narrowed eyes. She did not forget how her mouth burned that day. I didn't even use that much, the blonde huffed as they entered Sato's room, which was pretty plainly decorated. Though there was a small kitchen. This looks pretty plain, really. Shiro commented. Yeah, it doesn't look like much. Kirishima nodded. Anything would after Todoroki's room. King noted. Something smells good, though. Ojiro noted, which made Sato widen his eyes. Ah crap. I finished packing up really early, so I started baking a chiffon cake. He explained. It hasn't been iced yet, but, you guys want some? He asked. Sure, why not? Izuku shrugged. He could use something sweet after what happened. Yeah, all the girls exclaimed. Honestly, we should have expected this. Tada stated. Yep. Kaminari sighed. Later. Alright, let's keep moving. Toru cheered as they went to the second floor. Wait, we're doing our rooms too. Jiro questioned. It's getting pretty late, she gulped. Come on, Jiro. Live a little. Mina told her. Who's up first for the girls, anyway? Izuku asked. Me. Jiro sighed, tapping her earplugs together nervously. This is so embarrassing. She groaned. Later. Jiro's room. Jiro's room looked like a musician's home, and had a black and red checkerboard pattern on the floor, walls and even the ceiling. There were also several instruments including a keyboard and a guitar. Whoa. You've got so many instruments. Kaminari exclaimed in surprise. Yeah, cuz Jiro's totally punk rock. Toru nodded. Can you play all of these? Ochako questioned. Sort of. The punk rock girl replied, poking her jacks together like they were her fingers. Hey, mind if I try out one of these guitars? I've been meaning to really try cutting loose at least once. Izuku requested. Sure, just don't break it. Jiro nodded. Kaminari, meanwhile, just stared in awe at all of the instruments and caught sight of a picture of a tiny Jiro playing a guitar with her parents, and upon seeing it his face immediately burned red. So cute, he thought. Hey, Jiro. The human Pikachu said, causing the girl to look at him. What's up, Kaminari? She asked as they left her room. I was wondering if I could possibly, I dunno, get some music lessons from you sometime. He told her. Sure. Yeah, no problem. The earphone jack girl nodded. Great. The blonde smiled with a cute smile, causing Jiro to blush. Since we're here, you wanna give me those labels now? Izuku interjected with a hum. Oh, right, sure. The punk girl blinked before getting some soda labels from her desk. Do you have any of these yet? She asked, holding out 2 labels for Snipe's grape and All Might's strawberry. Let me check, the Fox Sin trailed off as he quickly checked his collection. I do not have either. Talk about good luck. He whistled as he took the labels and put them in their places. Toru's room. Next it's my turn, Toru exclaimed, hopping up. What'd you think? She asked as they reached the room. What they were greeted with was probably one of the girliest looking rooms they'd seen, given the amount of cute things that were present. Now this is girly. Kaminari chuckled as he looked around. So pink. He mused. I'm kinda surprised you have no shinobi gear. With your quirk, it would have fit you to a T. King remarked. He has a point. Shiro nodded in acknowledgement. I agree. You seem like someone who'd fit the bill as a kunoichi, Hagakure. Izuku pitched in with a nod of his own. You sure it's okay for us to be doing this? It feels dirty being in a girl's room like this. It's their private space. Ojiro pointed out. Forbidden Gardens, Tokiyami nodded. We can do mine next. Mina grinned. Mina's room. Ta-da. Isn't it super cute? She cheered. A lot of her room's furniture was black and pink animal print. From her comforter to her dresser and even the overhead lamp's covering. This definitely fits Mina to a T. Now this I should have seen coming. Tada chuckled. Yeah, this is definitely a room for her. Katsuki nodded with his own chuckle. Later. Ochako's room. Ochako's room was pretty empty, which told everyone that she was a minimalist, only having a TV, the requisite bed, desk, a stargazing poster, a 13 figurine, a fan, and a cactus. Nice to see a fellow minimalist. Shoji nodded in appreciation. Thanks. The brunette uttered with an embarrassed look on her face. Not by choice. Izuku pointed out. Like I said, poorer than poor. Ochako and King kinda needed to be extremely frugal. He added, before turning a sharp look at her best friend. Even living off of just mochi without any other meals. Even if it's not healthy. He added. I can definitely help fix that. Sato stated, more than happy to put his cooking skills to good use. Hey, ya know what? Me too. Katsuki nodded. I'll cook you some food that'll have you so hot, your clothes'll melt off. He laughed. Why do I feel scared of that? Ochako gulped. Next is Sue. King noted. Say, where is Sue, anyway? Shiro questioned. Oh, she said she's not feeling too good. She already went to her room to get some rest. Mina replied. Oh. King sighed. Bummer. Izuku nodded. Unknown to them, Sue was watching them from her partly open door before she closed it. Later. Last one left is Yaoyorozu. Shiro noted. I wonder what kind of room she's got. Kirishima mused. Before we head in, I want to tell you all that I miscalculated a few things. The creation girl told them before opening her room, and everyone immediately got an idea of how rich she was. Seriously, her bed took up a majority of the room. What the heck? You can't even walk in here. Kaminari exclaimed upon seeing how cramped it looked. The bed is huge. Kirishima exclaimed with comically wide eyes. All of this came from my home. I thought I'd have more room for it, but like I said, I miscalculated. Momo said sheepishly. I keep forgetting how rich she is, the class mused in unison. Later. Alright, the votes are tallied, let's see who won. Mina smiled. Remember, you can't pick yourselves, guys. She added. Then everyone started putting down their votes. After literally minutes, they were counted and the outcome was decided. And with a total of 6 votes is, Rikido Sato. The pink girl exclaimed, causing the boy to gasp in surprise. By the way, all the girls voted for you. She added. Oh come on. Kaminari exclaimed in exasperation. Of course the baker gets the win. Kirishima sighed. Yawn well, I think it's about time we hit the hay. Izuku yawned cavernously. Yeah, is it over? Can I sleep now? Shoto sighed. Yes, and since you had cake, don't forget to brush your teeth. Iida told him. Thanks for sticking it out, Sho. Izuku smiled. Actually, there's something that we need to say. Ochako began with a heavy sigh. Izuku, Todoroki, Tada, Kirishima, Iida, Yaoyorozu, you have a sec. She asked. What's up? The redhead asked. The brunette simply gestured for them to follow her outside, where Sue waited for them. What's Sue doing here? Izuku questioned, not particularly enthused about seeing the frog girl, as he was still pissed off at her for calling his pragmatic plan to save Katsuki as acting like villains. The sin of greed was definitely one to hold a grudge. She has something she needs to share with you. Ochako told him in reply. You guys know that I'm pretty straightforward and always say what's on my mind. But sometimes I'm at a loss. Sue began. You remember what I said? About the rescue? She questioned. Yeah, still ticks me off when I think about it. Izuku nodded, getting a smack in the back of the head from Iida. Ow. He yelped. My heart was hurting. When I said that, and I knew what I said must have upset you, I thought I was able to stop you, but then you brought up the threat All Might was up against. The frog girl continued, tears welling up in her eyes. I didn't know what you guys did until I saw you on the news. It turns out I was worthless, a complete failure. And suddenly I had no idea what to say. I didn't think that I deserved to be playing around with you guys, but, she then started crying. It made me really sad to be away from you guys. She croaked. This made Izuku feel bad, and that feeling made him pull Sue into a hug so she could have a shoulder to cry on. I was pretty angry. And I lashed out. I'm just as guilty, he lamented with a sigh. But I won't apologize, not for saving Kachan. I know that stepping in was the right call. He continued. But I am going to apologize for making you sad, Sue. He added, allowing everyone else to join in on the hug. Thank you, the frog girl whimpered. Sue, I'm so sorry. King cried as he hugged her tightly. I'll never make you cry again. He told her. Me too. Shoto nodded. Yes. Momo nodded. Thanks for telling us how you feel. Kirishima blurted. Yes, thank you. Iida nodded. Times were rough, and would be for a good while. But, then again, what would life be without those times? Later. Izuku and Ochako were silent as they walked into the former's room. There had been a lingering tension between them, even after the Fox Sin and the other rescue team members had made up with Sue, so the ex-immortal was going to forcibly confront the matter. The pink-cheeked brunette took the opportunity to sit down on the boy's bed while he leaned against the opposite wall. His arms were folded and his sharp eyes were trained right on her, as if daring the girl to make the first move, say the first word to initiate the conversation. His face was also stone cold, carrying an expression of cold intimidation, something he learned from Todoroki, and his firm muscles were pushing against his clothes, making him seem even more imposing without him even really trying to be. The air was tense, so much that you could feel it brushing against your skin. Then Ochako cut through it. Quote. You went after him, she commented. Oh, so she can speak. The Fox Sin rebuffed after having spent the past 5 minutes in silence, his expression and posture not changing. I'm really not in the mood for that. The gravity girl deadpanned. In spite of what we were told, you still went after Katsuki. Even with everything you were risking, you still went through with it. She exclaimed. Yeah, I did, and I'm not going to say I regret it, if that's what you expect. Her boyfriend told her firmly. I told you. If we didn't act, we were screwed. You saw how bad things were before we got Kachan out of there. If we'd been a minute later or not there at All Might would be dead, Kachan would be gone again and society would be in shambles. He continued. So you tell me, Ochako. He barked, towering over his girlfriend. Was it really so bad that I followed my nature to do what's right? He questioned. Ochako was silent. One of the things she hated about his argument was that he was right. Had he and the others not acted, All Might would be dead, Katsuki would be gone and all for one would reign chaos on the country. She had nothing to refute his words with. She wanted to be angry, but she couldn't. Especially when her lover was on point. Quote. You're right. The girl sighed at last, getting a raised eyebrow from the boy. I'm sorry, can you try repeating that? I don't think I heard you that time. The sin of greed said with a smirk as he held his hand to his ear. I said you're right, you greedy dummy. The pink-cheeked girl snapped in light irritation. You're right about all of it. How things would have been worse otherwise, how Katsuki would have been gone again, All Might being dead, all of it. You were right, she ranted. Thank you. Finally, someone said it. The boy grinned before looking at her and finally relaxing. He then sat down next to her on the bed and got close to her. All right, go on and say it, I know you have something else to say. He added. You were still wrong to betray our trust like that. She told him. Does it look like I'm refuting that? Did that ever come out of my mouth? He questioned. No, but you're not really addressing it. She told him in reply. Because I don't think it needs to be addressed, least not at this point anyway. He shrugged before he slowly took her hand in his. All that aside, I'm just really glad we're able to be together again. The fox Sin sighed after a minute, letting her rest her head on his shoulder. Yeah, me too. She sighed, relishing in his presence. After about 10 minutes, the brunette had him lay on the bed before she climbed on top of him and started making out with him. This continued until Izuku grabbed his girlfriend by the waist and rolled over, getting her under him and him on top, removing her shirt in the process. Tossing the piece of clothing aside, the Viridian-haired teen then took off his own shirt and then slowly moved to her shorts, the girl now in just them and her underwear. Ochako decided to return the favor and removed her boyfriend's pants, leaving him in just his boxers. This then led to Izuku going back to attacking her again, but this time he started kissing and sucking on her neck, his hands going under her bra and into her panties respectively. Elsewhere. Meanwhile, outside the dorm Kyoko-jiro, and when her sensitive earphone jacks picked up the sound of gasping and moaning coming from Izuku's room, she immediately stabbed a jack in the wall, wanting to make sure he and Ochako weren't hurt. Though when she got a clearer idea of what was going on based on what she was hearing, her entire face went tomato red. Are they seriously doing that in the dorms? She gasped mentally before disconnecting from the wall. Pissed. Jiro. Whatcha listenin', too? A voice whispered to her, causing her to jump and turn to see Mina and the rest of the Baku squad standing beside where she was. Something that is definitely rated R that's happening with Midoriya and Uraraka. She replied, still blushing intensely. What are? Wait, are you serious? Kaminari started to ask before realizing what she was saying. Damn, they're not wasting any time. Katsuki noted. Hang on, I thought those two still weren't talking. Kirishima questioned. Well, technically they still aren't. Jiro said before steam came from her ears. Because I think Midoriya just made Uraraka deep-throat him. She added. Wah. The lightning blonde gaped in shock. Seriously. Katsuki groaned. So that's why Deku had Wandel keep getting him those muscle-enhancing herbs, he sighed. Should we leave? Kirishima asked with a blush on his face. Yeah, they seem to be just fine where they are. Shiro nodded. Jiro was still listening so that she could continue relaying what was happening to her curious friends, and all of them well, except for Katsuki were all rather red. Except Mina, who had a purple face. Holy shit. Jiro, now near the point of fainting out of arousal, pulled back from the wall and collapsed into Kaminari's arms, the human Pikachu feeling pretty flustered as she did this. What happened? He asked. I'm pretty sure Uraraka's IQ just got screwed down a few notches and I really hope she took birth control because I don't think Midoriya had any intention of going uncovered. The rocker girl told him. She's completely out of it. She added. Let's just go. This is out of our hands now. Katsuki stated, getting nods from the rest of the Baku squad. Yep, I'm going to bed. Shiro nodded, before dashing away, face red. Yeah, I better go, too. Kirishima nodded before he noticed that Mina was tugging on his shirt, her face still flushed. Mind if I stay in your room tonight? She whispered to him, as her room wasn't far from the current scene and she was too aroused to fall asleep alone. And no, not at all. The hardening teen whispered back in reply nervously. Quote. Wanna go to my room or yours? Kaminari asked Jiro, who he was carrying bridal style due to her being close to fainting. Quote. Mine. The punk girl uttered in reply. Quote. Soundproof. The boy joked. Quote. Yes. Jiro nodded with an atomic blush as she was carried away. And with that, everyone went to their rooms to finally get some sleep. It had been a long couple of weeks. Chapter 27. Practical isn't always easy. Review replies. Midoriya D. Izuku. Bet you were cracking up writing that last part, huh? Thermal Sniper N7. Maybe. Dragon Emperor0. Can neither confirm nor deny that. Football 78. Also the person who resurrected Ochako has been revealed. Thermal Sniper N7. I can tell you're binge reading. Yeah, it's someone doomed to die. Dragon Emperor0. Think Meliscula. Football 78. Seriously, this is bullshit. Izuku lost to Todoroki. Bullshit, cop out. Thermal Sniper N7. What, did you actually expect him to win every single time? Dragon Emperor0. Fatigue is one of the major drawbacks of using Snatch's more powerful abilities. Add that to Izuku overusing OOC and he was basically asking for that to happen. Dude, it's not a cop-out, it's the most logical thing to happen. Tech Gabe. Sat. Thermal Sniper N7. What? Dragon Emperor0. Ah, so you watch SDS in subs. That's well in Japanese, Meliodas catchphrase. Tech Gabe. Ochako will be Izuku's, Elaine. Won't she? Thermal Sniper N7. Yep. Dragon Emperor0. It's an IzuOcha story based on Ban. She kinda has to be the Elaine character for this to work. Tech Gabe. Izuku's gonna sacrifice his immortality to bring back Ochako, isn't he? I really hope he doesn't have to sacrifice it. Thermal Sniper N7. You'll just have to keep reading. Dragon Emperor0. But even then, it would be out of character for Izuku to want to keep his immortality if he can use it to save Ochako. So that really isn't possible without it being a cop-out. Tech Gabe. The op part about him having OFA, while being nigh immortal, is that OFA will be able to grow within him for far longer than any of the other holders. Eventually 10% or even 1% of his power in the future could be equal or stronger than 100% at the beginning of the story. Thermal Sniper N7. That's basically it. Izuku will have to keep it in check since it's unclear just how strong it's gotten. Dragon Emperor0. The whole 100% breaking apart several mountains with muscular was really just a low ball 100%. He was still getting used to and recovering from his day in purgatory and wasn't at his best, like with All Might in his weakened state versus in his prime. So, imagine if he was fully rested, how much damage he could do then, especially with a sacred treasure in hand. Spectre LL7. Hey, great story. I had a question regarding One for All. Will Izuku be getting the past user's quirks like in canon, or is it just the stockpiled strength? Thermal Sniper N7. We haven't really thought about it. Dragon Emperor0. But I think it would be best to follow Arkham's razor and assume he will just for simplicity's sake. The question is just when he'll be unlocking them in comparison to canon. Heights Alliance Dorm. Izuku yawned as he woke up the next morning after the dorm room contest the previous night, and soon took notice of the fact that 1. Ochako was on top of him, completely naked. And 2. He was still inside said brunette. This was pretty much every dude's favorite way to wake up in the morning. Well, at least we got our frustrations out of our systems, he mused before he shook her awake, getting her to slowly wake up. Huh. The girl groaned as she slowly woke up, and soon realized the situation she was in. Ah. She gasped, shooting up as her eyes went wide, now fully awake. What? Why am I in your room, and why am I naked? She questioned, looking at herself. Apparently, the fox sin had managed to pound her so hard that she blacked out and now couldn't recall what happened. We had make-up sex last night after what happened in Kamino Ward. The green-haired ex-immortal replied. And from the looks of it I may have screwed your brains out a little. He chuckled as he sat up and held her close. Oh, the gravity girl uttered, a bigger blush than her permanent one forming on her cheeks. Well, I do kind of feel better now. She admitted. Good. The sin of greed sighed as he kissed her, his tongue easily sliding into her mouth while his hands either held her waist or massaged her hair. Ochako moaned in bliss as she was dominated by her boyfriend, letting herself relish in the moment. After a moment, they separated for air. We should probably get ready. He told her. Right. The gravity girl nodded as they reluctantly separated from each other. Later, Izuku yawned as he made his way to the bathroom so he could brush his teeth with the rest of the guys. However, as he started doing this, he noticed something off about two of his friends, namely Kaminari and Kirishima. King also seemed unusual with his wings and all, but that was less it being weird and more him not being used to it. The other two, on the other hand, were wearing two shirts that obviously did not belong to either of them. Kaminari, Kirishima. Why are you two wearing Jiro and Mina's shirts? He asked with a blink. This caused the two groggy teens to stop brushing their teeth and look down, noticing that they had on a deep dope and pink t-shirt respectively. I thought this shirt felt a little small when I put it on. Kaminari noted, rinsing his mouth out. Whoops, guess I wasn't looking when I took this, the redhead chuckled awkwardly as he rinsed his mouth out. Quote. Both of you smashed Jiro and Mina respectively, didn't you? The Fox Sin asked after a beat passed. Kinda, maybe. The two boys nodded nervously. Don't be nervous about it. I smashed Ochako last night. Izuku admitted casually. Yeah, we heard. Katsuki nodded. Dude, how can you be so casual about that? The electric blonde questioned. Because after the first time, having sex with your significant other becomes easier to do and more natural to talk about. The Sin of Greed replied, right as Tata grabbed him from behind in a headlock. I'm gonna wring your neck. He shouted, right before Izuku got free. No you're not. The Sin of Greed deadpanned. Now back to you two. He continued, rinsing his mouth out and facing his two friends. How'd this end up happening? He asked. Well, Kirishima began. It was after we overheard you in Uraraka. Mina wasn't sure she'd be able to sleep well with that on her mind. So she stayed in my room. He explained. And then we started talking to take our minds off things, and as we talked, we started realizing that hero life felt like military life, so we started thinking we needed to make our moments count. One thing led to another, and you can see the aftermath. He continued. Me and Jiro were basically in a similar boat, except I ended up getting embarrassed halfway through when Jiro said she knew about my crush on her, so we were pretty awkward for a couple minutes. Kaminari nodded. Talk about it, and you two should smooth things out. The Viridian-haired teen told him, getting a nod in return. That's what we ended up doing. She asked me when I developed my crush on her. I told her it was during the sports festival or shortly after. She told me she started liking me during the training camp, and then it went from there. The boy shrugged. Okay, sounds like you two are stable so far. Izuku nodded before looking at Kirishima. What about you and Mina? He asked. Turns out Mina actually started liking me around the same time. We knew each other from middle school but never really hung out until we entered UA. Seems things just snowballed from there. He shrugged. Oh, okay. The Purgatory survivor shrugged. I hope the three of you don't have any plans on letting your relationships interfere with your training. Iida stated, always the one to bring everyone back down to earth. Iida, when has that ever happened with any of us? Izuku countered as everyone finished getting prepared for class. Elsewhere. Hey, Mina, Jiro, Ochako. Toru said as she and the girls got ready for class as well, some putting on makeup. Why do you have the guys' shirts? The invisible girl asked. That made the three girls in question freeze and look down, seeing that they did indeed have the shirts of their respective boyfriends in place of their own. Me and Izuku, we spent last night together. Ochako said awkwardly. Oh, don't go sugarcoating it, Ochako, you two were totally banging. Mina countered. Jiro heard Midoriya cause you to blackout. She added, hands on her hips. That made the brunette blush beet red. Okay, who the hell is the real pervert here? Me or you lot? She demanded. I was just trying to make sure you guys didn't hurt yourselves. It's not like I wanted to hear what I heard. Jiro defended. Well, not like we weren't in any similar situations ourselves. Mina coughed. Wait, you guys actually had sex with those two? Toru questioned, causing both Momo and Su to blush lightly and Jiro to go tomato red. Do you have to be so blunt about it? The punk girl stuttered. What did they do to you? Ochako asked, being curious about how Kirishima and Kaminari used their quirks under the sheets, in case it gave her or Izuku ideas. Quote. Kirishima used his quirk to make the force of his movement stronger, and himself harder. It was like getting rammed by an actual jackhammer. Mina admitted after a moment, her face turning a shade of light purple. Internal electroshock therapy. Jiro muttered. Ochako said nothing to these, but did admit there were some ideas found in Mina's info. Later. Alright everyone, listen up. This summer you will be training for your provincial license exam. Aizawa told them. But specifically, you'll be trying to develop your own ultimate moves. He added as the class door opened. And we'll be helping you out. Midnight grinned. When we say ultimate, we mean a move that uses your quirk to its maximum to turn the tide of a battle in one move. Ectoplasm explained. It also has to be something so unique to you that no one else can copy it. Smintos continued. A lot of pro heroes these days don't have ultimate moves. They're fools. Midnight picked up. So, over the next 10 days, we'll be helping you develop and perfect your own. She continued. There might be an issue with that on my end, Izuku muttered to himself. Later. This is where you'll be doing your training. It's called the Training Dining Land or TDL for short. Smintos explained as they entered what looked like a gym of some sort. Really? First USJ, and now this. Izuku deadpanned. This place allows me to create various different design training courses, hence the name. The hero explained as the ground started morphing into a canyon while ectoplasm sent out several clones. Sir, may I ask how this will help us develop our ultimate moves? Iida inquired. Some of you actually have a head start on your ultimate moves. Smintos explained. For example, you, Iida, your Recipro Burst is one such example. Midoriya's Zero Sign is another. The clone hero continued. Wait, seriously? The speedster gasped in surprise. To think we were unknowingly using ultimate moves for so long. Izuku chuckled. But it wouldn't be much of a stretch to think that we have other moves that could be turned into ultimates. He continued. Actually, I can think of a few. He nodded. Additionally, if you think changing your costumes will help, then the support course is open to you. Aizawa noted. Speaking of which, he said as he looked at Izuku. Midoriya, a new transfer third year to the support course says she needs to see you. He added. I'll head there now. The Sin of Greed nodded before taking his leave, having a good idea of who it might be. Later. Hey Deku. Melissa smiled as she met the boy outside the support course workshop. Hey, Melissa. The Viridian-haired boy nodded back with his own smile. How's settling in at UA been treating you? Not too rough, I hope. He asked. It's been interesting. The blonde nodded. Anyway, I have your support item ready. She told him. Alright, let's see it. The boy beckoned before the two headed into the shop. The blonde opened up a case on her work desk, causing steam to release from the pressure-sealed object, revealing the weapon that was inside it. It was a bronze-colored 4-section chain staff, and it looked like the parts meant to be held were made of wood, or at least metal made to look like wood. Say hello to the sacred treasure, Holy Staff Korakhouse. Melissa smiled. This uses the same technology as the full gauntlet but amped up to a more suitable level for a weapon, giving it a special ability called Super Saturation, which will allow you to draw upon 100% of your stolen and stockpiled power and use it to its fullest potential. She added. This'll work perfectly. The Fox Sin nodded. Would you be able to do the same for a new full gauntlet, or a full armor? He asked. Maybe, but I'd need more durable material. The girl nodded. I think I may know a good place to get some of that. Izuku hummed, already thinking of heading back to Purgatory for a mining trip. After getting a time dilation watch, since his immortality was gone now, of course. I'll probably also get Hatsume's help as well. Melissa nodded. Someone say my name. The salmon-haired inventor interjected, appearing out of nowhere. Well, I'm outta here. Izuku nodded as he walked away as quickly as possible. Later. Izuku swung his new staff with the same skill he had with his previous staffs, and he started forming an almost atomic electron shell-like sphere around himself, refusing ectoplasm the ability to hit him. Fox Den. Perfected, omnidirectional defense. He yelled. It was practically impenetrable. No matter what angle ectoplasm's clones came from, they were wasted on contact with the sphere. Well done. The clone hero nodded. Sacred treasure. Release. The Fox Sin intoned before he started swinging his staff again. Fox Hunt. Perfected, 9 tails lashing. He yelled as dozens of energy lashes destroyed the clones near him as he kept swinging. Then he accidentally started destroying the clones, helping the rest of his classmates, which startled them a good bit. Whoa! Kirishima yelped. What the? Momo gasped. What in the world? Jiro shouted. After a moment, Izuku stopped and realized what he did. My bad, guys. I didn't think the attacks would go that far. He called out apologetically. That's certainly an interesting support item. Aizawa noted as he approached his student. What made you want to commission it? He asked. This actually dates back to when I went to Island. I put in the request to David after everything was over and done with over there. Izuku explained. The idea was to have something on hand that could draw out my maximum power with no drawbacks. He continued. I'm also thinking of reworking my costume to do the same, but that'll come later. He added. Would you like to go again, Midoriya? Ectoplasm asked. Yeah, set up 20 clones. The boy nodded as the man did so. Taking a deep breath, the Sin of Greed got his weapon ready again. Crazy Hunt. Perfected, Black Flash. He yelled as he disappeared in a flash of green and black, using full cowl and snatch to move, taking the clones out in one move. Did he just teleport? All Might asked as he arrived to see what was up. Seems so. Aizawa nodded. That purgatory training has really left a mark not found on anyone else but him. He'll be a powerhouse for villains to dread when he graduates. The retired hero remarked. The erasure hero nodded. That just leaves 3 more moves to perfect. Izuku sighed as he stretched. Those being. Ectoplasm questioned. Zero Sign. Perfected, Conjurer Joke, Physical Hunt. Perfect, physical thief, and hunter fest. Perfect, ultimate instinct. The boy listed. You have a lot planned out. Aizawa noted. How would you describe these moves? He questioned. Conjurer joke allows me to use my ability to steal a person's perception long enough for me to swap places with an object or person roughly the size of myself. Izuku explained. Physical thief basically makes it where the more my opponent attacks me, the stronger I get. He continued. And what about this ultimate instinct? The man asked. My body will basically move autonomously in a fight, attacking and defending without conscious thought. This will make me considerably more dangerous in a battle. Izuku explained. Acting off of pure instinct. That's risky. All Might noted as he approached his protege. Yeah, it's better reserved for when I'm in a solo fight against one or more villains. Izuku shrugged. It's gonna take some time to learn how to identify friends from foe in that state, too. He added. That's what training is for. Aizawa told him. Time skip. Ochako was walking to the support area with Iida, who was also going there to get his costume upgraded. So Uraraka, what upgrades are you hoping to make to your outfit? The speedster asked as the two walked. Something to reduce nausea. The girl replied as they arrived at the door. Oh, Izuku. She gasped in surprise. Oh, hey guys. The ex-immortal nodded at them as they approached. Here to get some costume upgrades, too. He asked. Yeah, what about you? His girlfriend asked. Yeah, I was just about to head. The sin of greed began. Boom. Right before a massive explosion blew the door off its hinges and blew him backwards. Damn it, Hatsume. Powerloader exclaimed in irritation. Sorry about that. Guess I still have some kinks to work out. The voice of the salmon-haired inventor called back, smoke from the blast obscuring her and Izuku. Uck, son of a bitch, that hurt like the dickens, Izuku groaned as he sat up. Boing. And as he did, his face found itself between two soft and jiggly objects. Oh, hey the ah. Mei started to say before yelping as Ochako took away her gravity and yeeted her back into the work studio where she crashed into a wall. Hands off my boyfriend. She barked, her eyebrow twitching even as she restored the support course girl's gravity. Your boobs are bigger, just saying that right now. The fox Sin groaned as he got up, wobbling a bit as he fell into Ochako's arms, his face in her chest. Softer too, he muttered. Ochako blushed at that, feeling a little better about herself. Later. Yeah, sorry about that big explosion. Hatsume sighed. Yeah, I forgot all your names already. She amended. I'm Tenya Iida, the one you used as an advertisement dummy in the sports festival. The speedster exclaimed indignantly, his right arm chopping. And I'm Izuku Midoriya, the one whose fame you used to get the attention of the support companies. Izuku added flatly. Never heard of either of you. The crosshair-eyed girl exclaimed, causing the two boys to faceplant. Hey guys. Melissa called as she came up to the three. Hey Melissa. Ochako smiled as she ran to and hugged the blonde. Hello, Melissa. It's nice to see that you've settled in. The bespectacled speedster nodded in greeting. It was pretty rocky at first, but I got the hang of things. The blonde chuckled. I'm also glad I spent so much time learning Japanese growing up. She added. So, I take it you're all here for upgrades? Powerloader asked. In my case I'm here to check on the progress of my requested gear. Izuku nodded. Your gear is coming along nicely, and the purgatory materials you provided are absolutely magnificent. Powerloader replied. It'll be a few days before the full thing is ready for you. He added. I also did what you requested and made it into a full-body version of the full gauntlet. It'll wrap around your whole body and contour to it as needed. Melissa continued. It'll fit either on top of or under your costume, you just need to specify which. She added. And I added in a special item, Iron Souls. Mei chimed in whilst working. For dishing out enhanced kicks. Izuku guessed. Got it in one. Even if you healed from the damage, I did notice your arms were strained, so I figured a make-up attack method would help you in a pinch. The salmon-haired girl explained, whilst working. Always wanted to try a kick-based fighting style. Guess this gives me an excuse to do that, the boy nodded before turning to Iida. Say, Iida, why don't you do something similar? He asked. You mean adopt a punch-based fighting style in case my engines are stalled? Iida asked before his expression turned thoughtful. Or put a radiating booster on your arms so you can move just as fast by using your arms to help you do that. Izuku nodded. Which I just so happened to have. Mei exclaimed, and before Iida knew it, he had two booster gauntlets on his arms, which blasted him into the ceiling, causing him to panic a bit. Whoops. Too strong. She exclaimed, turning the boosters off. Back to the drawing board. Melissa's sweat dropped. Yep. The eccentric inventor shrugged, a little too used to this. Time skip. Izuku sighed as he walked down the hall after getting his new costume from the support department. The main part of the costume was a purgatory animal leather jacket that was red in color with brown spots, a pair of khaki leather pants made of a similar material, as well as his usual boots, now outfitted with iron soles, and on his wrists were two full gauntlet-like bands. These would extend into a full body suit of armor like said item that stayed under his clothes, and the jacket also had a pocket for his staff. All in all, he was decked out and ready to kick ass. Let's see if I can put this stuff to the test, he said to himself as he got to TDL. Hey, Izuku. Tada called as he walked towards the boy, causing Izuku to turn around and see that he looked different. He looked like he went through a growth spurt and now stood in the 5-foot range, which had forced him to get bigger versions of his clothes. The most notable thing were the dragonfly-like fairy wings growing out of his back. You look different, the fox Sin noted. All the training made me go through a growth spurt and made my wings grow out more. The grizzly Sin shrugged. You look like you got some new gear, he noted, seeing Izuku's new look. Yep, I call it Costume Gamma, my newest addition, he replied. Let's hope it keeps up. The grizzly Sin mused. I think it will. The ex-immortal chuckled lightly as they reached their destination. Later. Hey, Aizawa. All Might chimed in as he came up to the training area. All Might. What's up? The man questioned. Just came to see how the kids are doing. The blonde replied as he looked at the 1A kids, who were still working on their own ultimate moves. AP shot. Katsuki exclaimed, firing a concentrated blast at a cement wall. Ha ha. Finally nailed it, he exclaimed with a grin. Show off, King called as he worked on his ultimate move. Well, it's nice to see young Bakugo is still doing good, the former number 1 remarked. Then again, Purgatory did help boost his performance drastically, so that's not much of a surprise, he added. However, as he mused to himself, a piece of the wall Katsuki blasted cracked away and started falling toward him. All Might, look out. The bomber yelled in alarm. In a flash of green and red, Izuku leapt into action, his full armor covering his body as he readied himself for an axe kick. With no effort, he kicked the chunk of cement and reduced it to rubble, landing in a superhero pose ironically. Well, I can safely say that my new costume works wonders, he commented with a smirk. Wow, Ochako gasped, looking at Izuku with a blush on her face. Nice outfit, Deku. I can see you put those purgatory leftovers to good use, Katsuki called with a smirk, seeing the purgatory demon leather in the Sin of Greed's outfit. Yeah, couldn't let this stuff go to waste, now could I? The boy called. It is rational to make use of such high-quality materials. Aizawa nodded. I'm still working on my other ultimate moves, so I'm not quite sure if I'm ready just yet, the Sin of Greed admitted. Then focus on the ones that are ready for use in the provisional license exam. You can work on the others at a later time, the erasure hero told him. Trying to complete multiple ultimate moves in the timeframe we have is just asking for burnout, he added. I'll take that into consideration. Izuku nodded. Katsuki, meanwhile, was just looking at All Might with a mixture of worry and guilt before he gritted his teeth. You watch yourself, All Might, he barked as he propelled himself away. Izuku frowned a bit at his words. He could tell something serious was gnawing away at him. Time skip. Man, I'm so exhausted, Mina whined as she fell back on the couch. I don't know what you're complaining about, Izuku chuckled, barely looking winded from their training. Easy for you to say. You and Bakugo spent a day in purgatory, Tada huffed. A week, numbnuts. Stop downplaying it, Katsuki barked. It's not downplaying. I keep forgetting, fuck off. The fairy boy snapped back. I just want to have a break. Is that too much to ask? Mina groaned. A break, or a rock in the bed? Izuku questioned with a quirked eyebrow, flipping through TV channels. I was wondering the same thing. Ochako smirked, deciding to start a session of teasing Mina. Wah. The pink girl yelped with a purple blush. Normal break, you loons, she snapped. Are you sure? Tada asked with a smirk, deciding to join in the fun. Ah, come on guys, leave her alone, Jiro groaned. You're one to talk, I saw how you were practically mentally undressing Kaminari today, Izuku heckled. Hey, the punk girl yelped. Already thinking about your next round in bed with him, are you? Ochako teased with the most gremlin-like grin ever. Th, this is an injustice. I'm supposed to be the one doing the teasing, Mina whined comically. Ha, this ain't a monopoly, Katsuki barked at her. The dismayed whines of Mina and Jiro accompanied by the heckling of Izuku and Ochako continued for some time afterwards. Time skip. Everyone arrived at the location of the exam, where the HPSC seemed to have set up shop. We're gonna have our work cut out for us in this case, aren't we? Tada asked with a sigh as he floated on his pillow. Yes you are, Aizawa replied with a nod. Other schools will be wanting their license just as much as you, so expect stiff competition. He added. Why do I get the feeling that he's not telling us? Izuku whispered. Got me. Katsuki whispered back with a shrug. Come on, everyone, let's take it from the top. Kirishima called. I hear ya. Kaminari grinned. Plus, the class began before. Ultra. Someone interjected, causing them to turn and see someone from a different school coming up to them. The guy was rather tall and had a sailor hat on his head, the hat worn by the rival of UA, Shiketsu. Well, look at that, our rival school is here. Izuku remarked. I heard you guys are from UA. I just wanted to say, it's such an honor to meet you guys. The guy yelled a little too enthusiastically. Oh really? The sin of greed hummed, arms folded. The so-called sin of greed. Another Shiketsu kid noted. A degenerate in the company of degenerates. How fitting. He hummed. Get some new material. Izuku scoffed dismissively. Seriously, that insult was so generic. Shishikura, knock it off. You're not in any position to be judging people who you don't know. A Shiketsu student who was covered in long hair said. So you guys are from Shiketsu, huh? Katsuki asked with a raised eyebrow. That's right. So we'll be looking forward to seeing your performance. The teen nodded. Come on Yoarashi. He said to the taller kid. I am so looking forward to all this. Yoarashi yelled excitedly as he walked off. Quote. Was anyone else put off by his enthusiasm? Kirishima asked with a sweat drop. Izuku shrugged as someone else approached them. Hey, Eraser. A woman called as she walked up to Aizawa. Izuku looked at the newcomer. She had fair skin and looked to be in her 20s with light green hair and eyes. She was wearing an outfit consisting of a gray sleeveless top, a pair of matching shorts, gloves and boots. She was also wearing an orange bandana. Is that who I think it is? He whispered to himself. What are you doing here, joke? The Erasure hero questioned. Ah come on, Eraser. Don't be like that. The woman sighed. That's when things clicked for Izuku. Oh, now I remember. He said to himself, snapping his fingers. The laughing hero, Ms. Joke. She loves making villains laugh hard enough to forget who they're fighting, and she knocks their lights out. He mused with a grin. Oh man, hearing about her fights is the highlight of anyone's bad day. He chuckled. He knew what he was talking about, since he's watched news reports on Ms. Joke's fights to subconsciously brighten up his darker days. I hear that. Tada nodded with a smile. So you're bringing your class to the exam too, huh? What are the odds of us running into each other? Ms. Joke laughed. Marry me. She added. No. Aizawa rebuked instantly. Bahahaha. I missed your retorts. She howled. Get a room, you two. Izuku called with a shit-eating grin, causing Ms. Joke to laugh even harder while a tick mark appeared on Aizawa's head. Yeah, I can see those two together. King nodded. Same. Mina nodded with a grin. You do realize I can give you detention for that, right? The underground hero questioned, looking at Izuku. Not likely, I don't think Principal Nezu would sign off on us getting detention for heckling you. The Fox Sin rebuked. Quote. Damn it, Aizawa groaned in defeat. It was at this point the two kids who were presumably with Joke came up to Class A. So you guys are Class 1A? A black-haired teen who looked oddly like he could pass for Izuku's twin asked. Yeah, who's asking? Izuku nodded as he faced them. Yo Shindo. My friends and I are from Ketsubutsu Academy. The teen replied. Then I hope you realize you aren't gonna have an easy time with us. Izuku told him, a vulpine smirk forming on his face. Likewise. Shindo nodded, shaking his hand. Oh hey, you're Ochako Uraraka, right? The blonde next to Shindo asked the brunette. Yeah, what of it? The gravity girl asked in reply with a raised eyebrow. I heard about what happened to you in Midoriya. You're a really lucky girl, having a boyfriend that cares about you that much. The girl replied. You sound like you speak from experience. Ochako noted. Kind of. I have a boyfriend of my own. She nodded, looking back at Shindo and Izuku. What you guys have is rare. You should cherish it. I know, it's the little things that keep you together through the hardships in life. She added. We plan on it. Izuku nodded resolutely. Good man. Shindo smiled, hugging his own girlfriend, Nakagame, close. Later. Was anyone else expecting to see the HPSC here? King questioned as they all gathered in a room with all the other applicants. Not really. Sato admitted, glancing around and seeing the room full of applicants for the exam. Okay everyone, listen up. A man who looked like he hadn't slept in days said as everyone turned to face him. I'm from the HPSC, and I'll be hosting the exam today. Please remain quiet so I can explain things, man, I could really use a coffee. He yawned. Somebody get him the world's comfiest mattress, Izuku thought with a sweat drop. Seriously, this guy needed a break before he landed in the hospital from stress, or worse, fell victim to Karoshi death by overworking. This guy seriously needs a hot meal, a comfy bed and warm blanket, I swear. King noted, yawning. Seriously, he's making me feel tired. He added. Aren't you always tired? Sue asked with a raised eyebrow. Not the point. The boy retorted. Alright, so the preliminary exam is quite simple. The man began. You'll be tasked with hitting people with these balls on targets that will be on a person's body at any given point. He explained. The first to get 2 spots passes. He added. So it's like the entrance exam. Kirishima noted. To be frank, ever since the arrest of the hero killer, the place of heroes in our society has been called into question. The man continued. Whether they should be paid or not. Honestly, what's the matter with heroes asking for a reward for saving lives? It's how the world works. He admitted. Unfortunately, Izuku whispered to himself. He could see how this whole system had allowed some fake heroes to slip in through the cracks, resulting in a quantity over quality setting. That said, we should be clear that only the first 100 will be moving on. The man explained. Fuck. Izuku, Katsuki and Tada cursed in unison. That's even less than what we were expecting. Momo gasped. Best try your hardest to win. Get ready. The instructor said as the room around them started unfolding. Around them were various settings from a mountain-like zone to an industrial area. This was going to make things feel more chaotic. Well, this is it. Izuku sighed, getting Korakhouse ready. Yep. Tada groaned as he turned Chastaful into a spear. Go. The man called as a buzzer sounded, causing everyone to split up. Everyone, stick together. We'll be harder for them to pick off. Izuku barked as he got his sacred treasure ready. Right. The majority of the class exclaimed with a nod. You can, but I'm heading off. Katsuki barked. Kirishima, Kaminari, Ishido. With me. He added. On it. The 3 in question nodded as they went off with him. I'm heading off alone. My quirk isn't safe to use around other people. Shoto added his 2 cents as he walked off. Fuck. Well, I guess we're going commando, then. Izuku cursed, the rest of the class converging on him. As they advanced, they soon came face to face with students from Ketsubushi High. Elsewhere. So Eraser, I noticed that you still have a full class. That's so unlike you. Ms. Joke noted. This batch has actual potential, 3 of them more than most. Aizawa shrugged. Oh, so these kids wormed their way into your heart, did they? The woman hummed. No. The erasure hero deadpanned, causing the woman to laugh. But seriously, you didn't tell them about how UA is typically immediately crushed in these exams. Joke asked. I doubt anything would have changed if I had. They'd have to deal with this as pros anyway. Aizawa shrugged. At UA we tend to look further ahead than other schools, so these kids know what they're getting into. He added. Elsewhere, yeah no, the thing about your sports festival is that you basically gave us intel on how you fight, Shindo exclaimed with a smirk. That means we know how to beat you. He yelled as he and the others threw their balls at them. However, Fox Den. Perfected, omnidirectional defense. Izuku yelled as he swung Korakhouse around, covering himself and his classmates while sending the balls back to their senders, even managing to hit the targets on some of them. What the discount Izuku gasped. We gave you intel, did we? You know how to beat us, do you? The sin of greed questioned rhetorically with a smirk. Well, newsflash. We know things you don't. He exclaimed. Break him down and make him sing, everyone, he yelled at his classmates. Gladly, the others exclaimed in reply with smirks of their own. True Spirit Spear Chastiful forms 8, 3, 9 and 2, Increase, Guardian, Sunflower and Pollen Garden. Tada called as his spear went into 4 forms at once, with his Pollen Garden spheres surrounding and protecting his class save Izuku. The exams were on, and Class 1A had every intent of passing. They had an edge none of the other schools had. That being Izuku and Katsuki, who had survived a long time in purgatory. Good luck topping that. Good work, King. Izuku grinned as he readied his weapon, while Guardian, which was now huge, ripped and had 6 arms, tried to flatten Nakagame and several other students, while Dark Shadow tried to tear her in half, causing her to retract her body into itself. You're not the only one who's gotten stronger. Tada nodded as he floated next to the green-haired teen. Good news for us. The Fox Sen nodded as he readied his weapon. Bad news for them, he added. Practical exam? No, this was no exam. It was a war zone. Chapter 28. Drop that 808. UA vs Ketsubutsu. Earthquake by Family Force 5U vs Izuku. Fox Sin by Sensei Beats. Review replies Nightmare Lord. Oh man, I feel like Izuku and Katsuki are gonna annihilate Shishikura. Thermal Sniper N7. Might have that happen. Dragon Emperor 0. Probably just Katsuki, though. Wilfred Yao. Wow, every time I see you guys update a chapter of your stories I'm amazed at the quality and content. I have a suggestion that may have been said by others or you guys have thought of. When all these stories are done, maybe you guys can write a one-shot or FIC that lets all these versions of Izuku and his classmates meet together or something.
Thermal Sniper N7. We might forget about that by the time all of the stories are done. It doesn't help that it's a long way away. Dragon Emperor0. Yeah. The students of Class 1A were now in an absolute fucking warzone as every school in the immediate vicinity went for them first. Luckily King, Momo, Zero, and Izuku were able to do most of the blocking, thus rendering the initial sneak attack moot. I was going to see if this was a good time to test out Ultimate Instinct, but now I realize that it'd be a waste of that perfectly good move. Izuku said as he deflected more balls before catching a few and knocking out whoever threw them. He was able to nail at least 3 people, but not enough to take them out of the exam, yet at least. I'm sure you'll get an opportunity sooner or later. Tata said as he directed his increased spears to barrage the offending students, opening them for him to knock one person out and bringing his number needed down to 1. It was then that the Izuku lookalike, Yu, took notice of this. None of our attacks seem to be landing, if anything we've taken more losses than them. One of the kids, Shikui Makabe, noted. I guess we shouldn't be surprised that they wouldn't go down without a fight. Yu chuckled, sending a glare at Izuku. Especially when they're led by a pack of maniacs like Midoriya. He added. Maybe so, but we have a plan. Shikui said as he finished kneading some of the balls into stone and tossing them to another boy, Itajiro Totaki. Here you go, Totaki. He called. Thank you. The boy in question nodded as he caught the balls. They can't block what they can't predict the emergence point of. He stated as he threw the balls through the air, before they went underground and started burrowing their way toward Class 1A. Jiro, do your thing. Izuku barked, already knowing what to do. On it. The sound girl nodded as she plugged her jacks into her speakers. Jack, heartbeat distortion, she called, caused the ground to break and revealed the balls, which Izuku sent back to Ketsubutsu, taking out his first target of the day. Ah yeah, you go Jiro. Kaminari cheered. That's my girl. He grinned. The punk girl blushed for a moment before shaking it off. They were still in a warzone of an exam. That all you got? Izuku called, Korakhouse in hand. Alright, fine. You wanna play rough? I'll show you rough. Yu exclaimed as he placed his hands on the ground. Let's shake it like an earthquake. Tremoring earth. He yelled, sending shockwaves through the ground. This caused the battlefield to become upended in a jagged valley, separating Class 1A from each other. It also had the effect of disorienting the other schools as well. Bastard. Not on my fucking watch. Izuku yelled as he flicked Korakhouse at Yu and latched onto him with a tendril from his snatch power. Fox hunt perfected. Ultimate thief. He yelled as he yanked Yu along with him. Yu. Tatami Nakagame exclaimed as her boyfriend was quite literally yanked away from her. Izuku. Ochako called, equally as concerned as her boyfriend disappeared. Elsewhere. Tremors. An earthquake. Shoto hummed as he felt the aftermath of Yu's attack. It feels like it came from where the others are. Hope they're okay. He muttered. Yaoyorozu's probably keeping them safe, same as Iida and Midoriya. Still, I can't help but worry. He thought to himself. He blushed as an image of Momo entered his head as he thought this, specifically an image of her as she was leaving the showers not long after training one day, the image of her voluptuous body and luscious hair still wet from the bath being seared into his brain. He was forced out of his thoughts when he instinctively had to conjure an ice wall to block some rubber balls thrown his way. Sneak attack while I'm lost in thought. Could you pick a more cliché way to try and attack me? Shoto sighed in aggravation. Assailing him were students dressed up as ninjas of various colored outfits bearing the same design. They even had masks on the lower halves of their faces and forehead protectors with the same symbol. What's the matter, Shoto Todoroki? Afraid we'd knock you off your pedestal by showing better tactics? One of them questioned. No. The two-toned boy said as he faced them. However, I am concerned that you'll waste my time. He stated. So I think I'll take a page out of Midoriya's handbook, and skip the preamble by not screwing around. He added as he suddenly sent a massive wave of ice at them just like he did against Zero in the sports festival. Shit. The ninja students panicked as they tried to get out of the way of the glacier. They failed and got caught in it. Now, let's deal with this. He said to no one in particular as he approached the trapped ninjas. Elsewhere. In the stands, Aizawa was sitting with Miss Joke when Shoto made his heaven-piercing ice wall. When they saw that, the former couldn't stop himself from smirking ever so slightly while the green-haired woman's jaw dropped in shock. Seems Midoriya's been rubbing off on Todoroki. The erasure hero noted. Typically, he's not one to use such a big move right out the gate. Midoriya on the other hand is. He hummed. I guess he's not screwing around. Miss Joke commented, pulling herself back together. Elsewhere. Izuku snarled as he and you tumbled to the ground, the sin of greed skidding to a halt before getting his weapon ready to attack if the boy tried anything. You just pissed me off, you know that. The boy questioned as the rival second year stood up. Yeah, and you retorted as he got into a fighting stance. The last person who pissed me off ended up on death's door. The fox Sin said as he gripped his weapon. So I hope you're ready to die. He added. Bring it on. You exclaimed defiantly, clearly thinking he had a shot. Yeah, right. Good luck being equal to someone who's trained in purgatory, bub. Dude, you should just quit while you're ahead. Izuku said as he suddenly flashed in front of the older teen and kneed him in the stomach. Cuz look, I've been through shit you ain't even seen. He continued as his opponent doubled over. I've been everywhere, did everything, fell in love, I've died 1,000,000 times at least. He added as you attempted to cause another quake, which he jumped away from. So, what you got? He questioned. Screw you. The quake-generating teen snapped, clearly trying to ignore how outclassed he was as he tried to his Izuku with another tremor, but got hit with his target's chain staff instead. Izuku was about to snatch Yu's balls to get him out of the game but decided against it when a girl from Shiketsu snuck up on them and managed to get a ball on the tremor boy while Izuku dodged. If I remember right, your name is Kami Yutsushimi. Izuku mused as he and Yu skid to a halt. So that makes me wonder, what are you doing here? He questioned. Like, that's right. The girl nodded in response. Well, that's reassuring. Yu muttered. Temporary truce until we can deal with her. He suggested. Just don't get in my way. The sin of greed muttered. Deal. The black-haired teen nodded as they focused on the Shiketsu girl. Elsewhere. Oh man, did you see Jiro back there? She was awesome. Kaminari exclaimed as he followed Katsuki, Mina, and Kirishima to an area where they could find targets. Yeah, she forced those stone balls into the open like a boss. Mina exclaimed in agreement. Kaminari, my man, you got some good taste in women. Kirishima chuckled. Hey, don't go fawning over other girls. Mina barked. Hey, I'm just acknowledging Jiro's awesomeness. The redhead yelped defensively. Will you guys shut up? Katsuki barked back as they finally found an area. Sorry Baku wo. Kaminari said before yelling as everyone dodged several meat tendrils that went after them. What the? Are those people? Mina gasped, a little frightened when she saw several globs of what she presumed were other students on the ground. Okay, now that's just gross. Kaminari gagged as he looked at the blobs in question. Thanks for the save, Kaminari. Kirishima said. No problem. The electric blonde nodded as the group got a look at their assailant. Hey, isn't that the guy from Shiketsu? What was his name, Shishida? Mina noted. Correct. I'm pleased to be facing you, as I take pride in the fact that our schools are seen as equals. Shishida nodded. We at Shiketsu always wear our hats when working, as a way of showing that our actions reflect the values of our school. So I take special offense to those who don't act in a similar manner, as it's unbefitting of a prestigious academy. He continued. So I'm here to cull the herd. He added. Anyone else think this guy sounds like Stain? Kirishima questioned, his hardening going into effect as he put himself between Shishida and Mina, suddenly feeling very protective of her. I'm getting that vibe. Katsuki nodded in agreement, seeing a bit of the hero killer in this Shiketsu student. Without the murderous tendencies, thankfully. I don't like the way he's looking at me, it feels like he's undressing me mentally. Mina squeaked, getting more behind Kirishima. Don't worry. We'll deal with him, the redhead told her, feeling a strong urge to punch Shishida in the face. Don't be absurd, I am neither a pervert or a Stain sympathizer, I hold no love for that heartless piece of villainous trash. Shishida hissed. I simply don't believe that the position of hero should be held by the mediocre. He exclaimed before he attacked with his meat tendrils again. Katsuki, however, used a P shot to destroy them while sending some extra shots at the Shiketsu student. Kaminari, now. He barked. On it. The electric boy nodded as he shot several discs out of the launcher on his wrist. Alright, discs in place. He said. Kirishima, Mina, it's roundup time. He called. Right. The two in question chorused as they got to work. The rock-hard hero first charged at Shishida, throwing punch after punch to get him to back up, with Katsuki joining in once they reached him. Stay away from me. The boy yelled as he sent his finger-like appendages at the two. Oh no, you don't, acid veil. Mina called as she sent a maximum output and viscosity arc around the boys, melting the offending chunks of meat and causing Shishida excruciating pain. Before he could think of attacking again, however, Kirishima threw a right hook at him and knocked him clear across the way. Now you're mine. Kaminari grinned. Powerline shock. 1.3 million volts. He exclaimed as he shocked Shishida, causing him to scream before falling unconscious. Ah yeah, that's what I'm talking about. He grinned. After making sure he was out, the other blobs started waking up. We got targets. Katsuki grinned. Jiro's gonna be all over you when she hears how cool you were here. Mina purred to Kaminari, who took Shishida's spot for himself. The mere thought of Jiro smooching Kaminari for who knows how long made the electric boy blush profusely. Elsewhere. Speaking of Jiro, she, Momo, Su and Shoji were currently in a sort of stalemate with some girls from a rival academy. And now Momo was running out of options. That was until Jiro spoke up. Yao Momo, I think I may have an idea for how we can beat these girls. She groaned, her ears bleeding from having been attacked with a sound blast earlier in the fight. What is it? The rich girl asked, pretty much all ears at this point. Could you make a device that we could use to send electricity through the other side of the wall, and some insulation? She asked. Yes, I can. Momo nodded, seeing what Jiro was planning. You're thinking of taking a page out of Kaminari's book, aren't you? She asked, shivering due to them being stuck in a cold room while Shoji kept Su warm. That doofus may act like a total moron, but he's a maestro when it comes to thinking outside the box. Jiro nodded. Luckily, I have enough lipids to carry this out. Momo said as she made everything Jiro specified. It was a massive electric generator with several jumper cables and an insulated sheet. Okay, here goes. Momo said as she cranked the generator on and attached the cables to rods in the wall where she knew their opponents would make contact before they all got under the sheet. When said opponents made their move, they collectively screamed in pain when the voltage hit them hard, and when the device was depleted, they all collapsed in a heap, out cold. Kaminari, you stupid, beautiful goofball, your moves actually work. Jiro smiled as they all got out from under the sheet and burst out the door. I think we've earned ourselves some free points, don't you think? Shoji hummed as he lightly tossed one of his rubber balls in the air. Indeed we have. Momo nodded. Elsewhere. Meanwhile, back with you and Izuku, they were still trying to take down Kami, but the Shiketsu girl was making it difficult. I know you find this just as ridiculous as I do. You growled in agitation. Not shit I do. The Fox Sin growled in agreement. Luckily for them, both Ketsubutsu and the duo of Ochako and Shiro arrived on the scene to help them. You, Izuku. Tatami and Ochako called to their boyfriends while the other students started attacking Kami. Alright, having our girlfriends back us up certainly helps things. Izuku nodded with a smirk. Damn right it does. You nodded in agreement. We may not be taking each other out, but we'll meet again. He added. Count on it. The Fox Sin nodded as he leapt back to join his friends before they ducked away. Took you guys long enough, I was just about to get violated by a girl from Shiketsu. He exclaimed indignantly as they hid behind a boulder. She's lucky I'm not wringing her neck, then. Ochako snarled possessively. Have you seen any of our classmates before us, Midoriya? Shiro questioned. No, unfortunately. The boy sighed. I did, however, happen to see a heaven-piercing ice wall a few minutes ago. So at minimum, Todoroki has already passed. He amended. Good on him. Ochako nodded, glad at least one of her classmates passed so far. Now we need to figure out how to get our own targets so that we can pass. Shiro noted with a hum. I think I can help with that. A voice said, causing everyone to jump before they saw Tada sitting next to his sister. When did you get here? Ochako yelped in surprise. Just a few seconds ago. He replied. I was thinking that I could act as a decoy and then you and Shiro could make a trap with your quirks. He explained. Leaving Izuku free to get his targets using zero sign. He added, looking at his future brother-in-law. Tada, you are a fucking genius. Izuku grinned. I have my moments. The fairy teen smiled. Elsewhere. Meanwhile in the waiting room, Shoto, Momo, Jiro, Shoji, and Su all walked in at around the same time and were waiting for the exam to end. I'm glad that you were able to pass, Todoroki. Momo smiled as she sat next to him. Yes, it's nice to see that you all passed as well. The two-tone teen nodded, glad to see he wasn't the only one in his class to pass. I really hope Denki's okay, Jiro muttered. You guys weren't together? Shoto asked. We were, but he left to go with Bakugo, Kirishima and Ishido. So we lost track of each other. The girl explained. We do hope they pass as well. Shoji commented. Ribbit. Su nodded. Elsewhere. Back with Izuku and his team, the three were now watching as Tada made himself an easy target, before blocking all the incoming balls with a pollen garden, which gave Izuku the opening he needed. Zero sign. He muttered as he stole everyone's perception and moved around them, taking out a second person and ending up on the other end while Tada used Guardian to carry Ochako and Shiro. Now Ochako. Izuku exclaimed. Release. The brunette nodded, causing her quirk to disengage. Then the rocks and tape she and Shiro set up fell, allowing them to catch another portion of the examinees by surprise. Easy pickings. Izuku grinned. Tada, you are the man. Shiro grinned. Ah, Tabarant nothing. The boy chuckled. Come on. You guys are first years, right? Why are you trying so hard? You can try next year, we have to get our licenses this time. A third year complained as he tried to get free. Izuku looked down at the teen in disdain and disgust, it was just sad and pathetic. Quit your whining. He hissed coldly. The reason we're trying so hard is because we're making our shot count. Don't complain because you couldn't make yours count. Tada scoffed, not a fan of this guy's attitude either. Later. It didn't take long for them to head to the common room, where they were also met by Kaminari, Katsuki, Mina and Kirishima. The latter two of which had Mina leaping into Kirishima's arms and kissing him as they figured out they passed the first round. How hard was it, Deku? Katsuki asked as he walked up to Izuku. A bit, especially since this one girl from Shiketsu was somehow able to give me and that you guys some trouble. The Fox Sin replied. But we made it work in the end. He added with a shrug. Geez, what is it with Shiketsu and singling us out today? Kaminari groaned as they headed into the waiting room, and lit up when he saw Jiro there. Kyoka! He exclaimed, running towards her. Denki! The punk girl exclaimed when she heard his voice and saw him, meeting him midway and jumping into his arms, kissing him happily. I'm so glad you passed. When I heard you all got separated I was really worried. The boy said, holding his punk girlfriend close. Me too. Jiro smiled, booping him on the nose before kissing him again. Glad to see you're okay, Sue. Tada smiled. You too, Tada. Ribbit. Sue nodded, blushing a bit at the boy's taller and more mature fully grown fairy form. Well, a good chunk of us have passed, but what about the others? Siro asked. Looks like they're still participating. Izuku noted as he did a headcount of their class. And there's only a few slots left. Ochako said before a laser shot into the air. Wait, is that? She uttered. Aoyama. Izuku nodded. What is he up to? He wondered, narrowing his eyes in confusion. Elsewhere. Meanwhile, it was now an utter free-for-all and Aoyama's laser shot into the air, allowing his classmates to gather for a last stand and stand they did. Koda called in a massive swarm of pigeons to keep the other examinees distracted, which left them open to hits from the others. Thanks Aoyama. Thanks to you and your laser we were finally able to find our friends. Toru smiled, getting her points. I wasn't sure who was friend or foe after we got separated. I thought I'd be picked off but now I'm able to stand with my friends. Ojiro nodded, hoisting Toru up with his tail as she helped pin some people for him. Aoyama looked around, completely stunned as the rest of his class took their spots among those who passed. He didn't understand why they came for him, thinking they'd just think of themselves in this situation. He shook his head clear of those thoughts, and quickly got up, ignoring the pain in his stomach as he ran alongside Iida to look for someone to target. He realized that if the rest of his class was going to fight alongside each other, he would do the same. This is it Aoyama, our moment. Iida smiled. We, Iida, and I wouldn't have it any other way. The armored teen nodded as they got their points. Later. Yeah. The whole of Class A cheered as everyone gathered after passing, jumping up and down or leaping into the arms of their lovers in some other cases. Ah, looks like your class is as thick as thieves, Eraser a few of them even look like they're couples. Joke chuckled, finding the sight adorable. Some of them have endured the more extreme situations this world has to offer. Those that went to Island that eventful night are among those that understand this. Aizawa stated. Oh yeah, and how is it that your students seem to be better at being in a relationship than you do? She questioned, causing the man to twitch. Shut up. He grunted, causing the woman to snicker. It would seem that Class 1A was one step closer to their goal and most importantly they did it as a class.